Hello everybody, welcome to the Red Devil Experience. How you all doing? We are here with the Red Devil Daily updates. We're going to talk everything about Manchester United, Erik Ten Hag's future. A lot of updates coming out since yesterday's result. And we're going to get straight into, will Erik Ten Hag lose his job? Will he be sacked? In my opinion, it seems like it's increasingly likely going to be very, very soon. I don't think he's going to make it past this international break. There's a lot of things indicating as to why. We're going to break that down. We're going to get into it. We're going to have a very good discussion as we always do. Get involved in the comments. We want to hear from you. We want to hear what you think, how you feel about Manchester United. Smash the like button for me if you can. Real quick, please, because it helps the channel grow and I greatly appreciate it. And if you're not a subscriber and you enjoy the content, subscribe, turn on notifications. We constantly go live, constantly have good discussions, so go ahead and do that, and we welcome you in. Everybody is welcome here. Everybody has a voice and everybody has an opinion. So we have updates coming from yesterday. We're gonna get straight into that. So over the past 24 hours, we're doing it in chronological order. Some things come out as we are live, so we'll get to that at the end, but we have a lot to get through. So let's start off with, after the match yesterday, this came from Time Sport. Erik Ten Hag's position as Manchester United manager is still under pressure, as his future up for discussion at a meeting between the club's hierarchy on Tuesday. Now, Manchester United had a meeting today, but that was supposed to be more for different topics than the managerial position. Everybody was there. Joel Glazer was there, as well as Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Sir David Brailsford, even Gary Neville was there, Sir Alex Ferguson. So lots of people were there today. There is another meeting tomorrow. We're going to see what comes out of that meeting. That meeting tomorrow is supposed to supposedly be the one where they will most likely make the decision on Erik Ten Hag. I think it sways one way more than the other. But yes, that meeting tomorrow seems to be the all-important one. So we're gonna see. But there's a lot of updates coming out, a lot of news. So let's get through a couple things. Shout out to the chat. Rajat is here. How you doing, buddy? How you feeling? We got. So David Ornstein did some talking yesterday, and I think David Ornstein is a very he's one of the last few respectable real journalists. He's respectable. He's one of the last of a dying breed. I think he does an excellent job, David Ornstein. I think he's fair, and I think he actually represents what a journalist and a reporter is actually supposed to be in today's modern time. And he did a couple things with NBC Sports yesterday, the American outlet, and he was talking about it, and one of the things that he said was that the idea that Manchester United cannot afford to sack Erik Ten Hag due to FFP is not true. So I know there was been some discussions that maybe INEOS don't want to sack him because maybe we can't afford it. It's going to cost somewhere around in the region of £17 million to sack Erik Ten Hag. We're going to have to pay him that. And there was talks and there was reports that Manchester United might, if they do sack Erik Ten Hag and they have to pay the 17 million, we may take a hit in FFP, which will hurt the club in other aspects. David Ornstein coming out and saying that is absolutely not true, and that has no bearing over the decision of if Erik Ten Hag will be sacked or not. There was following updates because we all know about Gareth Southgate being linked. He was linked in the summer after the FA Cup final. He's been linked more recently with the pressure building under Erik Ten Hag. And David Ornstein coming out, and I think he's provided a huge side of relief for every single Manchester United fan, because I have not seen one person say that they want Gareth Southgate. I think that was the most unanimous thing, and that the Manchester United fan base has ever agreed on in a lot of history, recent history, unanimously. I would even go as far to say, and I usually give the benefit of the doubt, but 100%, there was not a single Manchester United fan that wanted Gareth Southgate. So David Ornstein also letting us know that Gareth Southgate was not a contender for the Manchester United job in the summer, and there is no information to suggest he would be now. So very interesting, because there was a lot of reports for in the summer, and then also as of recently, linking Gareth Southgate to Manchester United. Nobody really quelled the rumors except for David Ornstein now. And I always thought it was, I always kind of felt like it was English media BS, trying to hype him up for whatever reason. Maybe he's got the contacts. He is English himself. Maybe he's got some contacts to some of the media people. They always treated him very nice as well. They really loved him anyway. So maybe they do that to try and get him a job, but obviously he's not a very good manager and nobody really wants to hire him. And we always said that anyway. So, we can move past that. Now there was Inzaghi links not too long ago. And David Ornstein also giving us the update saying that Simone Inzaghi has not been offered the Manchester United job, even though before it was reported that he was. He goes on to say Inzaghi was surprised by the reports. He doesn't even speak English, so I don't know if anybody took that into consideration as well. But yes, he doesn't even speak English, so that would kind of be a problem. That's actually a huge problem. We would need a translator or something for Inzaghi, or he would have to learn English. Maybe he could start now if he wants to come into the summer, apparently. But yeah, so Inzaghi doesn't look like he's likely. And I even think like Fabrizio or somebody else also put that out as well, that he wasn't offered the job, and that Inzaghi was surprised by being offered the job. So yeah, Inzaghi definitely not in. Tuchel, Manchester United are lining up Thomas Tuchel as a potential replacement for Erik Ten Hag, and this is coming from Samuel Luckhurst. There's also other updates about Tuchel from other journalists, and Tuchel and Thomas Frank have apparently been linked with TalkSport and Alex Crook. Thomas Tuchel and Thomas Frank are among the potential candidates if Manchester United decide to sack Erik Ten Hag. Now, I was against Thomas Tuchel. I don't know how I still don't feel 100% confident in Thomas Tuchel, although I think at this moment it would, you can't really go wrong with almost anybody. Almost, I said, not anybody, but almost anybody. I think Thomas Tuchel, he would come in and improve certain aspects of Manchester United that are completely failing right now. So, I'm not sold on Thomas Frank, though. I think while Brentford do play good football, I like their football. I actually, I respect them for the way that they play football. I respect for the way that they, go out into matches and they challenge teams, even though being considered a smaller team in the Premier League. I just don't know if Thomas Frank would be up for the challenge at Manchester United. It's two totally different beasts. You're talking about, a house versus a skyscraper. You're talking about building a skyscraper versus building a house, and Brentford obviously being the house and Manchester United obviously being the skyscraper. And Brentford, the house isn't even in the worst condition. It needs some work, but it's not horrible. The skyscraper, while it's tall and magnificent in its size and structure, it is very rotted, it is very decayed, and it needs a lot of work, and it needs a lot of attention, and it's going to take a lot of hard work and you need a lot of things to go your way to get it to go your way. So I think that I don't think he would. I don't think he would be real successful, to be honest. I don't know. I don't feel too confident about Thomas Frank in that aspect. I don't know if he would be able to handle the Manchester United job. I've said this before. We've seen, people that have been successful, people that are considered winners, serial winners, come to Manchester United, and we've seen them fail. And, it's only gone on to be worse. And Erik Ten Hag has won trophies, and he's come here and at least won 2 trophies. But, what has Thomas Frank really done in his career? So I don't know, I don't think that would be a good idea. But again, I'm kind of over really just championing one type of manager. I think at this point it's on INEOS. Whoever INEOS does decide, I just want them to make the best pick that's possible. I want them to whatever they think is the right decision, and hopefully it's, whatever the right decision is the best decision for the club. So if they pick Thomas Frank, while it wouldn't be my number one pick, I would, back it for, the beginning and see how it goes and give it a shot and give it a chance. Because there are a couple other managers, like Michael Carrick's name has been thrown out there. Ruud van Nistelrooy apparently is going to take over the interim job once the sacking happens. And yeah, so I don't know about like all of that. But for example, people would be happy to take Carrick and not Thomas Frank. People would be happy to take McKenna and not Thomas Frank. And you can't really cite a lack of experience, because I think they're all about the same. Rajat telling us that he's no to Thomas Tuchel. Well, fair enough. I mean, I was against him. Ray is in here as well. Good to see you, Ray. So we're just giving up all the updates from today. And we are going to continue with Ten Hag. This is all in the order of the last 24 hours. So we're going in chronological order today. Sometimes we put them by topical, but I wanted to put it in chronological order so you could see how today has unfolded after yesterday. Manchester United, and this is coming from Melissa Reddy, who works on Sky Sports and probably some other outlets that I don't really know, but she's generally on Sky Sports. Manchester United are refusing to panic and will be measured when considering next steps over how to move the club forward with Erik Ten Hag, calm over his position ahead of Tuesday's executive committee meeting. And I think that's a fair statement that she's making there. Because I think as we've seen in the summer, right after the FA Cup, and people were getting pissed, and I think people are going to get pissed again because, while they could sack him tomorrow, they might take a bit longer. I think, unless they've been, really discussing this already, and tomorrow is really the time to make the actual decision. But we have seen that INEOS don't really rush to a judgment. It pisses off fans, because obviously fans want action taken as quickly as possible, and a lot of fans have made their mind up and they just want the action taken, and they don't understand what the whole discussions is. But we've seen from INEOS, after the FA Cup, when Erik Ten Hag job was under threat of being replaced, they did take their time to make that decision. They didn't just rush into it. They did take their time, and ultimately, obviously, they decided to keep Erik Ten Hag. But I think we might see something similar where it might not actually happen tomorrow, but maybe it will happen sometime later on in the week, because we do have an international break. So, they do have plenty of time to really make this decision and thoroughly go over whatever they decide they want to go over. Ray's thinking that the decision is already made, and that is a big possibility. The decision may very well be made. I think in one aspect, and we're going to get into it, I think for Sir Jim Ratcliffe, I think the decision for Sir Jim Ratcliffe is already made. I think there's a couple other people in the board, specifically Omar Barada and Dan Ashworth, who they don't want to sack him, and they're trying to fight for him to keep his job, at least for a little bit longer, to see if they could turn it around. And I think they have specific reasons for that. But I think, if you listen to what Sir Jim said, there's images of Sir Jim yesterday at the match, about 20 minutes in, holding his head, just basically saying, what the fuck am I watching? What is this shit? This is horrible. I think Sir Jim has already made up his mind. I think Sir Jim wants Erik Ten Hag gone. But at the same time, Sir Jim is trying to be, fair and not let his emotions take over his business, which is, an important thing to do when you're the head of a business or a head of a, top place. Because if it was solely strictly up to Sir Jim, and at the end he can make it solely up to him, but he's trying to do it in a structured way, because he's hired Omar Barada and he's hired Dan Ashworth to run this club and to make these decisions. And I disagree, Rajat. It does not look like Jim wants to keep him. No, it does not. And I'm going to tell you why. And we're going to get to that in a second. But If it was up to Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and go look at Sir Jim Ratcliffe's history, Rajat, I would advise you to do this. Go look at his history in his businesses and anything he's ever run. The guy is absolutely ruthless. He is ruthless. He will get rid of you in a heartbeat. He doesn't care if you got people to feed, a family to feed. He doesn't care how good of a job you've done in the past. If you're not getting it done and he's very disappointed and upset with the way that the directions are going, he will get rid of you immediately. The difference is here is that he's hired 2 people to run the club for him, and he's not trying to step on his toes. Their toes, excuse me. He's not trying to step on their toes. He wants them to be able to do their job. But at some point, you have to think of the shoes of Sir Jim Ratcliffe as well. Sir Jim Ratcliffe is on the older side. This man doesn't have a lot long left. The project at Manchester United that he is trying to do is going to take at least a couple years, if not longer. There is an urgency from Sir Jim Ratcliffe because he wants to see this. He wants to still, let's just be blunt, he wants to be alive and while Manchester United, and so he can see the fruits of his labor. He doesn't want to invest all this money and put all this time and not be here, and while Manchester United are still shit. He wants to see Manchester United succeed, and he still wants to be alive when it happens. So, while, we don't know how long he'll live for. He could live another 10 years, another 15, but nobody actually knows. And he is on the older side, and there's always, a scared that he can go at any time. And I think Sir Jim is not going to waste time. I think if it was solely up to Sir Jim, he would have sacked him. There's enough evidence that Sir Jim is done with Erik Ten Hag. It's other people in INEOS that are mulling over the decision. And just, I advise you, look at Sir Jim Ratcliffe's history in any of the businesses, the empire that he has built. He is absolutely ruthless in just getting rid of people when they're not performing. When he is done with you, he is done with you. He doesn't matter what you've done for him. He will get rid of you. And I think that's why Sir Jim is done with Erik Ten Hag. But there's other people in the INEOS board, or the people that he's hired, that are very reluctant to sack Erik Ten Hag, and they're trying to fight to give him a little bit more time. And I think that's, really what the discussion is going to be tomorrow. Now, listen, they could go into the meeting tomorrow, and Sir Jim Ratcliffe could sit there, listen to all the opinions. They could have a great big discussion, and Sir Jim, at the end of the meeting, can just go, yeah, that's great, but I don't give a fuck anymore. I want him gone, sack him, figure out who you're going to bring in and make sure it's the right decision, and walk out. And that's the end of the story. Because at the end of the day, he is minority owner, and Joe Glazer will be there. But what the fuck does Joe Glazer know? So I don't expect Joe Glazer to really make too much of an input other than maybe financials and shit like that. And maybe he agrees with Sir Jim Ratcliffe too. We don't really know what the relationship is like behind closed doors. Rajat saying at least give him time to try and turn the wheel. I mean, listen, you're entitled to that opinion, Rajat. And there's people, that are like you, and there's people like me that think it's over and they're, it's not going to happen. And then there's people on the other side that, are just screaming for him to get out. You know what I mean? And they don't want to hear anything else, and there's nothing really else coming out of their mouth. They just want Ten Hag fired, and that's it. So there's no discussion. There's no talking about it. It's done and dusted. I think, listen, I'm thinking with my head. My heart still wants me to say, maybe he could get a little bit more time. But I'm not listening to my heart on this. I'm listening to my head, because my heart is sad that this hasn't worked out. My heart is sad that he's going to lose his job and we're going to sack another manager. But my head is clear in that I understand the position we're in. I see the football we're playing. I see the direction we're going in. I see the results. I see over the last 14 months, if you're a statistic person, right? If you are a statistic person, over the last 14 months, go look at the statistics over the last 14 months of Manchester United under Erik Ten Hag. We are a mid-table team in statistics over the last 14 months. So this season and last season, we are where we deserve to be. Remember, we had a discussion one time on this show that Manchester United don't deserve anything. We don't deserve to be in the Champions League. We don't deserve to be in the top four. We don't deserve to be challenging for the title unless we earn that right. Well, we are where we are because we've earned it. We haven't gotten the results. We haven't performed. We haven't done any of that. So we earned to be in 14th place right now. That's what we've earned. We are where we are because that's what we've put in and that's what we've received. And it's as simple as that. Did you want Erik Ten Hag gone a long time ago? No, I was here. I was here in the summer. You know, after the FA Cup, I wanted him to get another season. I felt like he could really turn it around, and this is only of recent because, you know, maybe in the past couple matches, I've just accepted it is over. It is over. You know, I will never sit here and say, you know, I will never. I'm not gonna have a parade. I'm not gonna jump up and down and jump around because Erik Ten Hag has got sacked. I am sad that it's failed. I thought he will succeed. I thought he can do it. I believed in this manager. But I do see clearly that it is failed and that it will not turn around and it will not get better. Now, that is my opinion. Somebody else can hold a different opinion, but I truly believe there is no chance that he will turn this around. You know, if he's not sacked, I think what we will see is we come back from the international break. He gets a couple, you know, there's Brentford and maybe another game. Maybe you get two positive results, and at some point in the near future, it will go back to shit, and it'll be inconsistent again. And then maybe we'll get a couple better, decent results, and it will continue to that point until some point it is completely 100% untenable, which I think it already has hit that point because Manchester United are in 14th. If we go to Brentford and we don't beat Brentford, and every single game that we play from now on is a must win. There's no draws, there's no losses. It is a must win if you want to save the season. If you want to save Manchester United's season, they are must wins. You cannot draw and you cannot lose. And if that is the fact, then he cannot continue because you cannot risk going to draw another match or losing another match when under him it's been on the floor. There's no, you know, we're not playing good. I don't care. You know, I've defended Erik Ten Hag in a lot of press conferences, post-match press conferences, etc. Because I've always said he doesn't like the media and he says a lot of bullshit, and I'm aware of that. I'm aware that he does that, so I don't pay too much attention to it. But, you know, what he's been saying recently and lately, he is wrong. He is wrong. We are not, you know, in a lot of the things, he is wrong. He you know, we are not playing good. We are not playing good. We are not playing encouraging in any way. So, for me, you know, that's just how it is. But let me get on. What are you guys saying in here? Stephanie's in here, our wonderful moderator. Everybody give a big shout out, big up to Stephanie. Lyle's also in here. Lyle, how you doing, buddy? How's everything doing? I don't know if you've seen any of the news today, Lyle. I don't know if you heard anything so far, if you've seen anything or whatever, but you know, if you have, you know, what do you think? I would pose this question to the people watching right now. You know, do you think they will sack him in this international break, or are they going to come out and basically give him the next couple matches and see where it goes from there? Because for me, I think that we will get an announcement that it is over. I think the things coming out today, now it could change tomorrow because tomorrow is the actual meeting, so we have to wait and see what actually leaks or reports from out of that. But I think that I think it's just, I don't know. This time it feels different to me. I mean, Erik Ten Hag has gone on holiday. He's gone. He's given players that are not on international duty a break from Manchester United, so he's not even around right now. He's gone on holiday to wherever he's gone. The players that are not involved in internationals are also on break, so nobody other than the hierarchy are going to be. I mean, today they were at Manchester. Tomorrow they're going to meet at London in the secure location that they have. Damn, our club don't look good. I mean, it hasn't looked good for a long time, Rajad. It really hasn't. Not healthy or well. Yeah. I mean, you want positivity. Positivity is healthy. We deal with too much negativity too often, Rajat. So you're right. It isn't healthy on that aspect. But hopefully things will change soon. And Rajat saying can't blame Ten Hag on clinicality and bad defending. I mean, I get kind of that point. I agree with you partially, Rajat, because again, like I've always stated, there's blame on the manager and there's blame on the players. And I've really gone down the route of this is a club, this is a team sport, this is a team structure. We are, we operate as a team, a family. We are one unit. So it is never just the manager's fault, and it is never just the player's fault, maybe barring a few exceptions. But generally, it is never one or the other. It is a unit. It is a collective, and when things aren't going good, there is collective blame. So I agree with you the fact that you can't blame him fully, Rajat, on clinicality and bad defending, but he obviously has to get some blame because he is the manager at the end of the day, and there has to be accountability. If you can't figure out how to get your players to do it or change something to try and fix that aspect, then you're not good enough as a manager. At the same time, you can make an argument for the players that the players aren't doing their job and they're not good enough. And this is what I'm trying to say. It is a collective thing. It is a collective unit thing. It is not solely just on the manager or just the players. It is both. It is both. Now, who does it really fall on at the end of the day? Usually and typically the manager, because the manager is, like I've said, the nucleus. He is the what he is. His team is a representation of the manager on the pitch, and what we see on the pitch is crap displays from our players, bad defending, not clinical. And at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, when you are the manager of Manchester United, your team is a representation of you on that pitch. So if you're not good enough or you're not doing a good enough job, it will translate to the pitch and we will see it on the pitch. Lyle's saying, nope, same old news. Would love to be a fly on the wall for tomorrow's meeting, but I think he is getting the sack. Crucial meeting, it's called. So yeah, I think it is done, sadly. Stephanie saying, not a huge fan of Stephen Warnock, ex-Liverpool pundit on Sky and Match of the Day, BBC. Said something interesting last night. Bruno missing in midfield, not close enough to Ericsson, and Maino, no triangle possible. Richard Hawkins, one of our very good chatters are in here, and members, Manchester United experience for years and years and years. We always welcome him. Lovely that you could join us, Richard. We're happy for you to be here. Rajat saying 100% Lyle. I like the guy. Ten Hag want him to have a very good success, but it's not looking very good, and sadly he is hanging to threads to keep his job at Manchester United. And Rajat, I think you stole the words like right out of my mouth. While I may talk in a manner that sounds like I don't like Erik Ten Hag, or I really want him to get fired, I liked the guy. I wanted him to succeed. I trusted in him. I backed him. I fought for him. When people were against him, I fought for his side. But I'm at the point where I can read the writing on the wall, and I just know that it's over. Whether it's going to happen this international break or the week after, I know it's over. I can feel it, but I can also see it logically, unfortunately. And you could go and watch all the past videos that we did from May going forward. I was there. I backed Erik Ten Hag. I wanted him to be given a chance. But I think he started super poor, and he hasn't gotten the results, and we can't continue down this path. And I think there's also a lot of other factors. I mentioned the Sir Jim Ratcliffe factor before. I think that's an important factor that many people are overlooking. If you look into the people on the board, Sir David Brailsford is also another very ruthless man. These are not like happy-go-lucky, we're going to pretend to be your buddy people. when you look into their history and the way they've operated previously, Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Sir David Brailsford are two of the most ruthless people there. They have chopped and changed, got rid of people, sacked them from their job, kicked them out, all because of performance based. So I think them two, now while they did make the decision to keep Erik Ten Hag, because it was done without Omar Barada and Dan Ashworth, because they didn't start till about a month and a half later. If it was solely up to them, they would have sacked them already, because that's how they operate. But there's a part of the board that is, they don't want to do it. They don't want to do it for whatever reason, whether they're trying to save face, whether it's a financial aspect, whether they still believe in him and they want to give him a little bit more time. There are reasons that they are trying to back Erik Ten Hag. Maybe it's because we spent all this money, we bring in a new coaching staff for him. We put all this time and effort into really backing him and trying to give him the best available tools. I think, even the players we bring in were very good. And so I think there is a couple people there that they are very reluctant to do it because of all that effort and planning and time that they put into him, and they are reluctant to get rid of him. But the other ones, they don't care about that. They think it's done. They think it's over. They want to change, and they are willing to start moving forward and get the job done in that way. And Richard, saying that I did back him, and I did, and many of us did. I think pretty much everybody, all our regular viewers, all our current viewers, our regular viewers, I think everybody backed him. I think everybody was in unison. I think the majority of the fan base at that time was in unison. I think the majority were backing Erik Ten Hag at that time, but it's clearly shifted. He's clearly lost the fans. And the fans have given up on him, and I can't blame anybody that has, because I am one of them. Unfortunately. I never wanted to be, but you have to face the music sometimes. You have to own up to reality, and sometimes you have to accept the reality with your head and not your heart, because your heart is emotions, and sometimes emotions get in the way of clarity. And it's something that I've tried to do in my life, you know what I mean? I've made many mistakes in my life because I've acted on emotions, and I've made thought processes in my head on decisions I'm going to make based on emotions. It's not easy. We're all human beings. It's not, if everybody could do it, we would all be, the president of whatever country you're from, or whatever prime minister or whatever, it's not easy. But I think if you really try to remove your emotions out of it, and you just look at the facts of where we are, how we've been performing, the results, the table, everything, the style of play, the XG, the whatever you want to look at, it is done. It is. Unfortunately, it really is. I missed Stephanie. Is this why Delo used as inverted fullback and slotting into midfield, as Bruno basically an attacker? You know what, Steph? That is a good point. And it actually makes a lot of sense, Steph. And it's something that I didn't think about. But that is a very good point, and it seems very, very logical, Steph, actually. Because Bruno does hang up top. Which we've complained about before, and I don't think a lot of people like that very much, right? And yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense as to maybe that's why Delo does invert, because he actually becomes the extra midfielder, basically trying to make up for Bruno Fernandes's lack of playing deeper and kind of starting the press and almost playing as a shadow striker. It seems to be part of the system, part of the structure. So yeah, that does make sense. Rajat saying INEOS, as Nice kept sacking the manager, they went through about 5 or 6 and about 3 or 4 technical directors until they're happy. And I think that's a very good point, Rajat. And that's very good insight to tag on to, what I was saying, because, if you want to look at a football thing, because, Sir Jim has owned many different businesses. He's owned, he has an empire in many different aspects. But if you want to look at a football example, you could look at, what they've done at Nice. And at Nice, they have gone through quite a lot of managers over a short period of time. Now, some people might not like that because they don't want to become this so-called sacking club. And I used to feel like that. Because I just felt like that's not Manchester United in an aspect. But I don't know. I kind of feel like I've gotten to the point where, you know, we mix and romanticize kind of the Fergie era with the whole, you know, because we didn't sack him, he was about to lose his job, and look how it turned out. And then he stayed with us for years and years and years and years and years, longer than any other manager in like any other aspect. And it, you know, it was a beautiful story, and it was success. And you know, it was one of the most beautiful things you've ever seen. But I you know, the more I think about it, when is that ever going to happen again? Logically, when is that ever going to happen again? It's never going to happen again. The chances of that happening, especially in modern football, in today's time, it is never going to happen again. And I think we have to kind of move on from the fact that, you know, that thing happened with Ferguson. It was once in a lifetime thing. It was beautiful. It was amazing that it happened. We could love it forever and cherish it. And you know, but I think we have to accept that, you know, that's not the reality that we sit in anymore. The reality is, if you get hired, there should be pressure on you to succeed. And if you don't succeed, or you don't show signs of growth and potential success, you need to go. You need to be sacked. I think we need to kind of stop doing 3-year projects when there are signs that things or the manager was the wrong decision, or a player was the wrong decision. I think we need to start acting quicker on these fronts. You know? Now, I'm not saying be insane and start sacking a manager every 6 months. But I think after a certain period, when there are worrying signs, when there are indications, I think if you look at all the top clubs and the ones that are still continuing to win trophies and be challenging and be successful, right? And INEOS promised us this as well. So, you know, it's not supposed to be a problem going forward. They promised us that they are going to recruit players based on a philosophy and style of play that the club set, so that when we do hire a manager, and if the manager doesn't work, we can sack the manager and bring in a new manager, so that the club doesn't get screwed over and bring in a manager that doesn't fit with the players and the style of play. It's always going to be a specific or similar, something close, not to what we've done in the past, not going from LVG to Mourinho, not going from Mourinho to Solskjaer, you know, and it was all completely different, and you buy all completely different players, and now it's a, you know, it's a Jenga of just players that do not fit, you know, or they fit 3 different systems and they don't fit one system. So, you know, I think that's the way we really need to move. And I think, you know, another aspect is the pressure really is on INEOS, because there are fans out there. You know, some people have been against INEOS and Sir Jim Ratcliffe as soon as they, you know, took over the club. Some people have been generously backing them. Some people have become unhappy with them. And some people right now in the fan base are looking at them about this decision. And they are saying that if they don't sack him in this period, you know, they're really going to go at INEOS's necks. They're going to judge them as incompetent. They're going to judge them as doing a poor job, because in their mind, you know, it's done. There's no discussion. It is sack and get it over with, and let's move forward. So INEOS also have, you know, there's also an INEOS aspect in terms of how they look into the rest of the fan base as well during this situation. I think this is a big period. It's a difficult decision in terms of trying to navigate Manchester United's fan base in a certain aspect, but they have to listen. If they sack him, they got to get the next appointment right. There's a lot on the line for them in terms of how backed they're going to continue to be by the fan base. So if they need to, you know, there might be a little bit of caution from them, because if they do decide to sack him, clearly they got it wrong by, you know, giving him extending his contract in the summer and not hiring a new manager because it hasn't worked. So fans are going to take that into account. The manager that they hire after him, if it fails, it's going to go on them again. And then the fans are really going to start, honing in on the fact that INEOS hasn't gotten right in 2 managers, and the pressure's going to start and build on them, which they obviously don't want. But, yes. And Steph actually pointed this out. Sacking Ten Hag will reflect badly on INEOS. I think after the next 3 games, Brentford, Fenerbahce, and West Ham, decision will be made. And it could very well be, Stephanie. But for me, in my opinion, personally, I think that is a mistake. Because I'm looking the way we're playing. And listen, we said that Erik Ten Hag refuses to change his system. We said Erik Ten Hag refuses to change the game plan. And I think thinking about it a little bit more yesterday, Erik Ten Hag did change it. He changed it to set up to not to lose. And we've seen this before in certain periods while he's been manager. But when you set up a game plan to not to lose, and Johnny Evans said it. He said it in his post-match interview yesterday. When you start setting up your team to not lose, not to win, not to play competitively, not to try and score goals, when you set your team up and go into a match not to lose and not to concede, you are in trouble as a manager. You know that your job is very, very much on the thinnest of ice. And I think, he is worried. I don't care if he says he's not worried. I think he's well aware that he is in a very bad position. I think he is very well aware that he may get the sack, and it looks very likely that he may get the sack. And when you set up in that way, you almost, we've seen that before. We've seen that before from other managers at this club. It is, you are pretty much at the point of you're tying the white flag around the stick, and you're getting ready to raise it because it's over. It's over. You're going to accept defeat. And that's how I feel right now. Many fans wanted him to do well. Sometimes have to think about that to do. Richard is agreeing with Stephanie, saying that he thinks he survives the international break, and then they will look at results. And I think that's a mistake. I do. I think it's a mistake because you look at those matches, and I don't think we'll get results out of them. I think it is a mistake under Erik Ten Hag. I think I think if you get Ruud in, I think first of all the players respect Ruud a lot more. And I don't know why that is, for whatever the reason is, but apparently it seems that way. I think Ruud may be more of the type of manager that we need in terms of personality. In terms of personality and all that. Not that I'm saying that Ruud is going to be the guy and he's going to lead us to the promised land, but in terms of just getting a bounce and getting a couple good positive results in the immediate term until we hire a full-time manager. I don't think Ruud van Nistelrooy should probably get the full-time job. Now, I'm sure, if he does well, the opinion of the fan base is going to sway and it's going to change, and there's going to be, the better he does, the more people will ask for him to get the permanent job. I just don't think he has the experience and the CV. But sometimes experience and CV is bullshit anyway, because we've seen that in life as of recent. Sometimes the most qualified person isn't the best candidate. So that avenue is a little bit tricky as well, if I'm going to be fair. But yeah, I think it's a mistake because I could see us drawing or losing to Brentford. I could see us losing in the Europa League to Fenerbahce, and I could see us drawing to West Ham. And those results are unacceptable. I said it earlier in the show, and I'm going to say it again. Manchester United, from this international break going forward, whoever the manager is, you cannot drop any more points. We can't do it. If you want to salvage the season, if you want the season to be some something good, something decently good. We cannot drop any more points. We are not in a position to lose points. We are not in a position to draw Brentford. We have to win. We are not in a position to draw Fenerbahce. We have to win. We are not in a position to draw or lose against any of these teams. We must win every single match going forward on a continuous run. And I don't think with Erik Ten Hag, I don't know what the odds are in terms of if you get a new manager in, how well that's going to happen. But I tell you what, under Erik Ten Hag, the odds might be here. Under a new manager or an interim or anybody, maybe they're up here. They're definitely higher than under to Erik Ten Hag. So I think it would be a mistake from INEOS. I think they're delaying the inevitable. And I think they need to just work properly and be ruthless and just do the job that you were supposed to do and do the job that you promised us. Would like if they bring someone like Gruda, Frankfurt's CF or striker to get Cole P. Stephanie saying early likes please, really helps the channel grow and it's free. Yes, please. If you guys can smash the like button for me, if you enjoyed the content and you want to be a subscriber, get involved in the chat as well. The likes really help us out and it grows the channel as well. So I would greatly appreciate if you guys can smash that like button for me. And get involved in the chat. I want to hear from more people. What are you thinking? How are you feeling on this? On Erik Ten Hag and the fact that, he's most likely going to get sacked. Get involved. Dynasties are finished. From Richard, clubs are not like that anymore. That's talking about, giving Fergie like the Fergie time and, just backing him and really, letting it kind of grow or whatever. Luck does come into it. And yeah, sometimes luck does come into it. And, Stephanie's saying to be a good or great manager, you also need to be a lucky manager. And I think that comes with positivity, though. I think, some people, I don't think it's necessarily always luck. I think it's like if you do the right thing, if you do the proper things, if you put in the hard work, if you always try to improve, I think a lot of people view things in life as luck. And I don't think there really is something as luck. I think we perceive it as luck. I think we perceive it as lucky, but I think there's always, some type of reason for that. I think that if you put yourself into position, sometimes you get something and people go, oh, that's lucky. But it's not lucky because they did the right thing for them to be able to put themselves in a position to succeed. It's not lucky. They put in the work. They did exactly what they needed to do. Is it, So, but however you want to view it, that's more of a life thing. That's more of like, a personal thing. If you believe in luck and whatever, that's one thing. If you don't, it's another thing. But, it really just depends how you view things, I guess. Rajat saying, want to see us playing great and winning football like Cristiano Waza and Tevez in 2008. I think we all want that, Rajat. That's all we want, really. We want to see our good football. We want to see Manchester United be competitive. We want to see Manchester United not being a laughingstock, a banter club, because that's what we are right now. We are a banter club. We are a mid-table banter club. And if you don't believe that, go look at this. Go look at the facts. Go look at the table. Go look at the statistics over the last 14 months of Manchester United performances. We are a banter mid-table club. That's what we are right now. Do you want to be that? Do you want to stay here? Then we need to make the change. Even if some of you don't want it. Even if some of the people that don't want it, we need to make the change. It is time. It is time. We tried to give him time. We tried to give him the benefit of the doubt. And I believe, unfortunately, one way or another, but, the end of the story is he didn't get the results, he didn't get the performances, and he's cut his time shorter than it could have been. He hasn't helped himself at the same time as well. While many things might not be in his control, like players, just playing completely dog shit or whatever, it is... He has cut his time shorter than it could have been, or, whatever. I think, if he had a couple more positive results, we've only gotten 2 or 3 wins this season. You can't have that. You can't have that. We can't. It's unacceptable. If this was Bayern, they would have sacked him. In this situation, manager going into 3rd year, and they've sacked managers for less. They sacked manager while they were still in the Champions League. because they didn't like the performances in the group stages, and they already advanced to the next round. You know, that's a big club. Barcelona have sacked managers. Inter, AC Milan. I mean, every top club has done it. Every top club has done it. Every top club does it. Chelsea are the kings of it. And while sometimes it's a little bit crazy and it's a little bit hectic, and I wouldn't say, you know, start going down the Bowley route, but under the Abramovich route, it did work. They were successful. They were able to win trophies. I think you work with that until you get somebody that actually succeeds. Then you take that person that succeeds and you work with them. If it starts to go very backwards, thank you for everything you've done. Next person. You know, we need to have we need to have a champion mentality again. We don't. What are you guys saying? Lyle's saying, agree. Look how lucky Erik Ten Hag was in his first season. I think if we didn't win the Carabao Cup, we may have won the league. We looked mentally fatigued and after winning the trophy. Rajat saying 100% Eric, not everybody gets time like Sir Alex Ferguson. It is the new era. Nobody's ever going to get that time. That's really what I was trying to say. Nobody's ever going to get that time. It doesn't happen anymore. And you know what? It doesn't necessarily lead to success. It doesn't necessarily lead to success. Now, there's a couple arguments you can make. Look at Klopp at Liverpool. But Klopp at Liverpool, you could see from the first season to the second season, and while the first two seasons were shit in terms of greatness, you could still see from the first season to the second season, there was a clear improvement. From the second season to the third season, there was an improvement. From the third season to the fourth season, there was an improvement. There were improvements, which is why he kept getting time. We are not seeing that. The direction we have gone in is backwards. Erik Ten Hag, I think, I think he hurt himself too, unfortunately, because I think the first season was so good in that aspect, coming and picking up one of the worst Manchester United teams in Manchester United's history. He did so well in that first season. The second season was really bad. But if you look at the second season to the third season, he's already beaten last season for how bad it was. He's already beaten it. And we're 7 matches in. So we cannot continue. We cannot continue down this path. I think managers should only be replaced just like players in the transfer windows. Everyone knows where they are at, and then, yeah, I've heard that argument before, Steph. I don't know how to feel about it necessarily, because I think that's a little bit, I mean, it could be good, but I could also see how it could be bad. So I just don't know what that would do to the game exactly. You know what I mean? I don't know if it would be an overall positive thing for football, or it would make football worse, or it would hurt clubs in the long run. You know what I mean? But it is something that you know, people do consider and talk about. Lyle coming here, and I love Lyle because he comes with, you know, I love everybody that gets involved, but I love Lyle when he comes with these points. 14 points off of City. 19 points behind, 9 points, 14 points off of City, 9 points behind Arsenal, 23 total wins. A little more luck, we could have seen number 21. And, you know, you call it luck, but I don't think we had it. I don't think it was luck, Lyle. I just don't think we had enough to really push for it anyway. But I think that first season he did well. But we obviously didn't have the squad, and that's kind of what's alarming. That's what's alarming to me, Lyle, is that we were there. You know, you're claiming we were there. You were claiming, you know, 14 points off City, 9 points off Arsenal, and by the way, and we had 23 wins. And by the way, being 14 points off City, that's very, very far, because, you know, Manchester City don't lose games. They barely lose games. They barely drop points. You know, so that is still very far in terms of City. 9 points behind Arsenal, that's 3 matches, although albeit they were also very, very good. I mean, but you look at that, and last season we finished 8th, and this season we could finish, you know, the way we're going, we're closer to relegation than we are to the top 4. And we just started. Like, it's very bad. We are literally going backwards. We are declining. We were supposed to improve. We were supposed to get better, and we didn't. So I think it's just time. Sometimes you just have to cut your losses. Sometimes you just have to accept things didn't work out the way you wanted it to or thought they were going to, and that's it. Rajat saying, oh wait, that is the thing. Cristiano Ronaldo said that you have to back your team, have belief, and have confidence to try to at least try and challenge. And Rajat, another very good point. And Rajat's doing very, very good today, because I think he's hitting a lot of nails. I think he's hitting a lot of nails on a lot of heads right now. And that's just sparked something in me. Now, over the past couple days, we've heard quite a lot about Erik Ten Hag, and I don't like character assassination because we don't know them personally. So it's not very nice to try and speculate and say, oh, he's his attitude's like this, or his personality is like this. I don't like to do that. But if you listen to people that have interacted with Ten Hag or worked with Ten Hag or have been on the inside of Manchester United, there is a reoccurring theme, and we actually have an update on that, and we have more updates. I know we got into a sidebar, but I think this is very important that we talk about it, and we're having a good discussion. So Ronaldo said what Rajat said, that you have to back your team, you have to believe, and you have to have confidence to at least try to challenge. And he didn't accept that a Manchester United manager said that we cannot challenge in this current moment. He didn't accept it. And Ronaldo is a fucking world champion. He's won everything, right? He's won everything. He is the pinnacle of what you would want to be in any aspect in life. If you're not an athlete, you would want to apply that to anything. He has done everything, and he has won everything, and he is the greatest on this planet, right? That's his mentality. Benny McCarthy has said this something similar in terms of Erik Ten Hag kind of lacks a little bit of that fire, a little bit of that passion, a little bit of that, we're gonna have a fucking go at these teams, at these players. And I think you see that reflected in our team. I think you look at Ruud van Nistelrooy, the way he acts on the sideline, he seems to have that fire. He seems to have that passion. He seems to have that mentality of wanting. Now, I'm not saying Erik doesn't have it, but I think maybe he expresses it in a different way that doesn't translate well to the squad. And I think Benny was, maybe the more and more I keep listening and hearing other things from people that have been with and around Erik Ten Hag, what Benny McCarthy said the other day starting to make a lot more sense, where he said that he believes that the players in today's game, they need that fire, they need that extra passion from the manager, they need that little push from the players, and it's all starting to kind of click together. It's all starting to kind of click together now. The picture, if it had a vignette around it and it was a little darker around, that vignette is starting to widen out, and it's starting to get brighter and brighter and more clear and clear for me. Richard saying, I think we won't get results out of those matches, but I think they are also looking at the financial side. Well, they shouldn't be, Richard. Now I understand that, if it is a factor, it's an unfortunate factor, because Glazers have, ultimately put us in this position through what they've done financially, but also with the hiring of their CEOs and etc. that didn't know what the fuck they were doing. But Manchester United should never be considering a managerial change and holding off on the managerial change because of financials. That should never be a thing at a club like Manchester United. Now, if it is, I think it's an unfortunate circumstance that they are kind of been put into. So there's only so much they could do about it. But I would say to them, figure it out, because if you're looking at the financials, why don't you look at the financials at the end of the year? Why don't you look at the fact that, there's a possibility we might not be involved in Europe at all. There's a possibility we won't be in any Europe. We won't be in the Conference League. We won't be in the Europa League. We won't be in the Champions League. How is that for your financials for Manchester United? I think that would hurt more. So, when they're comparing financials, there's a lot more things. I think brand deals would suffer. I think, trying to bring players in would also be hurt in terms of the fact that there is a possibility that we're not even in Europe in any aspect. Being in the Conference League is still shit as well. Nobody wants to be in the Conference League. I mean, we don't even want to be in the Europa League, let alone the Conference League. So, yeah, I mean, maybe they look at it that they are investing resources and money into this project, so they may want to keep continuing to see where it goes. And I think that is a good point. I think that is one of the things. But I think Sir Jim Ratcliffe and I think Sir David Brailsford don't give a shit about that. I really don't think they care. And there's reasons for that. I'm going to get into it. But I don't think they care about that. I think it's really Dan Ashworth and Omar Barada are the ones that's their viewpoints, and maybe one or two others that, the names aren't being mentioned. But I think those two are the ones that are looking at it in that manner, Rajat. But I think Sir Jim Ratcliffe, personally, from what I've seen and what I've read, and if they are to be true, I think Sir Jim Ratcliffe is absolutely 110% done with Erik Ten Hag. If it was up to Sir Jim Ratcliffe, I think he would have hired Thomas Tuchel by now. If he wanted to step on the toes of his CEO and his director of football, and he became impatient and just started doing whatever he wanted, I think he would have hired Thomas Tuchel by now. I think he would have sacked Erik Ten Hag already, and he would have hired Thomas Tuchel or somebody, or just gave it to Rude or whatever. But he would have got rid of him already, in my opinion. So, Stephanie saying, if we were 14th with 7 Premier League games to go, definitely gets sacked. But it would be great if he sees the season out, means he has turned it around, trophy and Europe again. I mean, it would be a nice story, Steph. It would be, and it would definitely certainly, be happy to see, or nice to see. You know what I mean? But I just don't know if we can take that gamble. I don't think we can afford to take that gamble, Steph. I mean, for me, it's been so bad and so poor, that I just don't think we can afford to. I think he's run out of time. That's what it is. I think he's run out of time, and he's run out of opportunities, and he's run out of chances, in my opinion. Amir Fikre, I'm sorry if I pronounced the name wrong, saying Van Nistelrooy been waiting for this day. There's been reports, indications. I don't believe that, because I think, I mean, he maybe personally ambitiously, but I don't think it's in the manner of like, Roy went there with intentions of like, I'm going to become assistant manager so that just in case he gets sacked, like they give me the job or anything. Or I don't think Rude has been stabbing Ten Hag in the back. I don't think, he's trying to take his job in that aspect of like, get this guy out of my way, I want the job. I don't think anything like that is going on. Is he maybe excited? Yeah, maybe it was a dream for him to one day, manage Manchester United, and he might get the opportunity a lot sooner than he thought, albeit on a temporary basis. But still, you're still going to get the chances, still going to get the opportunity. So yeah, and we do have updates on that as well. If Erik Ten Hag wants some last minute help, it may be dumb because time has gone and football is different, but I suggest he talk to Sir Alex. I don't think Sir Alex Ferguson can help him. And you know why Sir Alex Ferguson can't help him, Rajat? Because Erik Ten Hag won't listen to him. He won't, like, he'll listen to him, like he'll sit down and talk to him, but will he implement anything Sir Alex Ferguson tells him? Plus, we shouldn't be needing to do that. It is a different era. It is a different time. Sir Alex Ferguson did his job for Manchester United. He did everything he was supposed to do. He sacrificed his life. He sacrificed his life for Manchester United. He gave his life to Manchester United. I think the guy should be allowed to just enjoy whatever is left of his remaining years. I don't think we should be bothering him in that aspect. I don't think we should be running to him. He's clearly out of the game. It's clearly a different generation. It's clearly a different time. It's clearly a different style of football. I just, and while he loves Manchester United and he enjoys it, it should be from mostly a fan perspective. We shouldn't be needing people and having people running to Sir Alex Ferguson. What do I do, Sir Alex? What do I do? I don't know what to do. What do I do for Manchester United? Give me all the ideas. We shouldn't need that. So yeah. Uh, we're up to 13 likes, which is very, very good. If you haven't smashed the like button, please smash the like button for me. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. It helps the channel grow if you're enjoying the content. And get more involved in the chat. I see a couple new chatters in here, so I'm excited. Simran Singh is saying, love your show. Keep it up. Thank you, Simran. I appreciate it very, very much. Michael One Up. I'm sorry for pronouncing name wrong. I'm shit at names. I don't do it on purpose. I mean no disrespect. Doesn't have a World Cup winners medal. All right. He's talking about Ronaldo. All right, fair enough. Close enough. You know what I mean? All right, we're gonna get into semantics. Michael went up saying, you don't need to know them personally. The way they behave in public and on camera reveals a lot. It does reveal a lot, but, you know, I try to just be fair, Michael. I do. I try to be fair because you don't know, you know, people do react, people do act, and people are different when there is a camera in front of them and when there is not. Now, we don't do that here. What I give you is me, because that's how I am. And, you know, if you stick around for quite a long time, you will learn. I've always been very upfront. I will always be very upfront. What you see is who I am. I don't put on a character. You know, I don't do shit just to do shit. You know, sometimes I'm happy, sometimes I'm sad, but I give you me. I give you 100% me. And I've said it many times, I could do a lot of things to get a lot more viewers and a lot more clicks, but I refuse to do that because I want to be myself and be authentic on this channel, and that's what I believe in. So, but I do get your point. Amir is saying, if they sack Erik Ten Hag, I believe more in Ruud van Nistelrooy than any manager on the market right now. So Amir, very, very, you know, backing Ruud van Nistelrooy, Ruud plan all along. And, you know, maybe there was a Ruud plan all along, but there is a little bit iffiness of whose actual decision. Was it to bring Ruud van Nistelrooy? Was it Erik Ten Hag? Erik Ten Hag has said that he's brung in the staff. Erik Ten Hag said that he made his staff decisions. So I don't know if that narrative would fit, because if INEOS hired them, and obviously INEOS had to, I guess, accept or sign off on them coming in. But if INEOS actually was the ones that were like, we're bringing Ruud to be your assistant, Ten Hag, then I think there's a play for that, because it's almost like, well, if he fails, you know, we could always just put him in as interim, or if he's good enough, or if we really like him, he'd become the full-time manager, and we could give him the job, and we could start over from scratch one. But if Erik Ten Hag was the one that chose to bring him in, if Erik Ten Hag said, I want Van Nistelrooy to come, if he was the one that made the decision, then that narrative doesn't fit. It just so happens that Ruud has, one, he's available, two, he's apparently impressed many people since he's arrived. He's impressed players, he's impressed some of the hierarchy with the way he handles himself, with the way he operates, with the way he coaches, with the way he manages. So, you know, it could be, there's definitely a couple of different factors into that. The parallels with managers following Busby and Fergie is uncanny. I don't really think Sir Alex Ferguson has the right advice for this era of football. Maybe from a managerial perspective, but tactically, I don't think he has anything to contribute, and he shouldn't. He shouldn't, Lyle. You know why he shouldn't? Because he's not a manager anymore. He's retired from that point of life. Now, you can be a football fan, you can be a Manchester United fan, but you know, I don't think he's thinking about these things on a day-to-day basis. I think he obviously still loves Manchester United. I think he supports Manchester United. I think he wants to see Manchester United do as good as possible. And I think it hurts him to see where Manchester United has been since he's left. But I don't think he's sitting there analyzing, you know, players and football in the manner that he used to be. So going to Sir Alex Ferguson and asking him constantly for advice and stuff like that, I think is a waste of time, honestly. I think you meet Sir Alex, you have a chat with him once or twice, you try and take some, you know, lessons that he's learned as a manager, But he can't help you in the current situation at Manchester United. He can't help you with this group of players. He can't help you with the current style of football in the modern era. He can't help you in how you should line up with your team. He can't help you with what kind of tactics you should be playing. So, there's only a certain point that you should be taking from Sir Alex. Obviously, Sir Alex is one of the greatest ever, if not the greatest ever. And you should have a chat with him at some point and definitely try and steal something from him. But, to go to him and be like, Sir Alex, I'm the current manager of Manchester United. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing anymore. I'm completely lost. Can you please give me tactics and a game plan and tell me how to line up against Brentford for next weekend, because I need to win or I'm going to get sacked, and I don't want to get sacked, but I have no clue what the fuck is going on anymore. Like, we can't do that. You can't, how ridiculous that would be? And nobody would do it anyway, because these people all have egos. They all have pride. Ten Hag has an ego and he has pride. We're all humans. We have ego and we have pride. Like, they're not going to call up Sir Alex and be like, Sir Alex, I'm so lost right now. I have no clue what the fuck I'm doing. I need help. Like I'm totally screwed, dude. If you don't tell me how I need to line up and what kind of tactics I got to play against Brentford, and I lose that match, I'm gone. Like, I'm sweating. Like, please, Sir Alex, come up with a game plan. Help me. Tell me what I got to do. Like, it doesn't. We have to move on. As much as I love Sir Alex Ferguson, as much as I think he is the greatest manager to ever exist, and some people might argue somebody else, but for me, he is the greatest manager. He is one of the greatest sports managers, if not the greatest sports manager of all time. We have to move on. We don't have to forget Ferguson. We don't have to forget the era and the football and all of that. We don't have to forget it, but we need to actually move on. The fan base needs to move on. The club has to kind of move on. You know what I mean? We have to move on. That era is over. It is over. It is done. It is never coming back. We are never going to see that again. And as sad as that might be, it's done. It's over. We need to go. We need to join 2024. I feel like Manchester United are caught in some type of a fucking... We're stuck in like the in-between. We're stuck in like, where they're like we were time traveling, and we're in a void. We're in a space where like time doesn't exist. We're just existing in nothingness right now. That's how I feel like we actually are. We're like somewhere between the past and trying to go to the present, and we need to get out of where we are and actually join 2024 and like get with the current times. Because I don't think we can like succeed in the current times if we're not in the current times. If we don't think in the current times, if we don't operate in the current times, I don't see how you want to succeed in the current times. So, Ten Hag has no idea and creative tactical play system for the new era football modern. Well, I think he did at Ajax. I think for whatever reason he came to Manchester United and he decided to go down the route that he's gone down now, whether it's the group of players, whether it was the certain amount of players that he had, maybe it came up with a certain plan and a system based on certain players that he had that he wanted to use and build the system around. But I think he's gotten it wrong. I think at Ajax, the football was amazing. It was beautiful. It was exciting. It was attacking. It was everything Manchester United fans wanted to see at Manchester United. But he didn't bring that with him. He made up a new one, or he changed it for Manchester United, which I think was a mistake immediately. I don't think he should have done that, but he did do it. And I think, I think that you are right, though, Amir. I think you are right, though. Like, right now, the way we play, the way we set up, there is no creative... It's not creative tactical play. And it does... It's just very boring. Rajat wants Cristiano Jr. Listen, if we don't improve, Cristiano Ronaldo ain't gonna let his son go to fucking Manchester United as much as he loves Manchester United. So if you want Cristiano Jr., we gotta improve in all aspects. We have to be great again. Because I tell you what, And it also depends how good Cristiano Jr. is actually going to be once he gets of age. But if he becomes a good player or a very good player, I don't think he'll be anywhere near Cristiano in terms of that eliteness, but he could still be a good player. If you want him, Cristiano ain't gonna let his son go to a Manchester United team that's finishing 12th, 8th, and 7th in the fucking Premier League. So we need to become good again as well, but even though I know that might be a joke, but perhaps Sir Alex Ferguson's presence at the club, just like Sir Matt, weighs heavy. It's a possibility, Steph. I've always thought about that as well. Managers and players. Busby famously said to Fergie, "Don't read the papers." Yeah, I've thought about that as well. It is a possibility, and that would be unfortunate. And my heart doesn't want that to be. We've talked a lot about heart and head today. My heart doesn't want that to be, because that's just a sad fucking story. And that's not the story we want to hear. We want Sir Alex to be part of the club. We feel like he deserves to be part of the club for everything he's done for the club and how great he was. And the story I think everybody's ever written in their head is, he gave us that time as the manager. He goes up into the rafters. He becomes, in part of the board. He oversees and continues to make sure that Manchester United is good and going in the correct direction. And he's there for advice and he's there for help. And he passes that knowledge on to the next managers and people in charge, and he has a good influence. But maybe it's the opposite of that story, Steph. Maybe it is the opposite of the story. Maybe him being there is a problem. We don't really know, because I'm not on the inside of the club, so I can't tell you. Why the F did they hire David Moyes? And Andy Tate said, "You're a fool." Biggest Manchester United fool. Who's Andy Tate? Who the fuck is Andy Tate? Andrew Tate? That's the only Andy Tate I know, Andrew Tate. United's history and dominance is so rich that we will always get lumped into comparison of our history and present. It's sad. Listen, that's just a human thing. We always compare and contrast and stuff like that. But I think, and while you can still compare and contrast, but you have to have the mindset of that we need to move into the modern era. We need to move into the modern times. So, let me give me 2 seconds. We're going to go into the next couple updates, because there's actually, we got sidetracked a lot, but I think it was a very good discussion, a very good talk. But there's a lot of updates that we actually have to get to. And we are very far into the show already, so we don't have a lot of time. So give me 2 seconds. All right, so let's continue on the updates. I'm going to fly through these, and then we can just have a regular discussion. So, Michael Carrick would be open to returning to Manchester United in some capacity. He has been discussed as a potential assistant or caretaker. He would then remain as staff if that happens. So Michael Carrick potentially might be coming back to Manchester United. Obviously, I think Michael Carrick, still to that point, he said it before, he doesn't want the full-time job. I don't think he believes he's ready for that in that aspect, or maybe he just never wants it. Because it's a lot of pressure. And if you ever listen to Michael Carrick, he does have a book. He talked about how he did suffer deeply with depression and stuff. I think he was extremely brave for coming out in the open and talking about that, because a lot of people, they look at footballers and they're like, these guys are confident, these guys have no problems in life, they got the money, they got the women, they got the whatever they want. They live a great life and everything is fantastic, and it's not always the case. At the end of the day, they are humans. He did talk about his struggle with depression, and how it affected him during his playing career. And maybe that isn't completely gone. So a job like Manchester United might be a little bit too much for Michael Carrick, and maybe he knows that. Or maybe he just doesn't feel like he's ready for it right now, and it's something he could do much later down the line. But at the same time, he is open to coming back to Manchester United, I think, always, because they do love the club. in some capacity. And, he could either be a potential assistant. I mean, we could go from Erik Ten Hag to having Ruud van Nistelrooy as the manager and Michael Carrick as assistant manager real quick. And that's just kind of crazy. Or he could just be the interim as well, which would be Michael Carrick would be interim and Ruud would stay on as assistant maybe for Michael, which would just be, it's a United fantasy dream, like ultimate fantasy. You have two players like that from the past, that were part of great teams, and they're now in charge of Manchester United. I think like it's a romanticized kind of thing. But it is close to being a reality now. Carrick is super intelligent, and I think he is, and that's, I think, partly, I have this thing about midfielders. If you look today, and even in the past, and it doesn't go for everybody, there's obviously exceptions, but I think if you look at the majority of people that, a lot of people that were either mediocre players or good or okay players, a majority of them, they played midfield and they become very, very good managers because they know how to read the game on both sides. They know the defensive aspect and they know the attacking aspect. They tend to make very, very excellent managers because they know how to read the game very well on both sides. They've done it for basically their whole life. So it helps them when they are the manager because they have to set up the team in both aspects. I mean, there's just a couple examples. I'm sure there's, some that, obviously they weren't midfielders, but, if you don't want to say it for Carrick, look at Pep Guardiola, look at Jose Mourinho, look at, there's a couple other people that I can't think off the top of my head, but for sure. I mean, Xavi was doing all right. There's a couple people out there, the midfielders, they do usually tend to make very good managers. Xabi Alonso's a prime example right now, doing very, very excellent. Pep was a defensive midfielder. Still a midfielder, though. Still a midfielder. You know what I mean? Still a midfielder. Defensive midfielder or not, still a midfielder. You still kind of got to read both sides of the pitch. Zidane, thank you, Richard. If you guys have any other ones, throw them out there. But yeah, so I think Carrick can become a very, very, very good manager. I just think that he needs more time to experience and grow. I think he could become, one of the top managers in the world because I think he was good as a player at reading both sides of the pitch. So no, yeah, I got you, Lyle. I got you. I got you, Lyle. Don't worry. Best managers were playing a CDM, Alonso, Guardiola, Sir Alex Ferguson. I mean, Sir Alex Ferguson as well. Ancelotti too was also a midfielder. That's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't go directly for every player. Obviously, there's some people, they played striker or they played center back, and they're good managers as well. It's not just like, oh, because you're a midfielder, you're automatically one of the best. You automatically become the best manager, and if you weren't a midfielder, you can't be a great manager. But there is this tendency that it seems to be like if you were a midfielder at some point, a lot of them do become either excellent managers or good managers. So, and then Pep is the top two or definitely top three managers as well. Yeah, Pirlo wasn't a great coach. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't happen for everybody. Ray is back. Ray went away. Ray, you missed a large, good part of the show, man. But we have more to come. So let me get through this before I get sidetracked again. So, Rajat, you know how we were talking about Sir Jim Ratcliffe earlier and why I said that I believe Sir Jim is done. Well, this is coming from Sam C, who, you could worry about it. You take his credibility as he wants. He is associated with the United stand, but he does report many factual things in terms of that. He tries to be accurate. I don't know his background before he was with the United stand, but Sir Jim Ratcliffe thinks enough is enough and wants change, but no final decision has been taken. And that's Sir Jim. There is another update on Sir Jim that's going to come in a couple seconds. So let me run through this and I'll get to the chat. You guys keep chatting away, keep writing whatever you want. Ten Hag, now this is the updates that we got from Fabrizio that kind of go hand in hand with the things we already spoke about, but we got, a lot of people, they like Fabrizio. and they want confirmations from Fabrizio. So Fabrizio comes with his own update saying United are still discussing Erik Ten Hag's situation internally. He then also mentioned Thomas Tuchel, which we spoke about before, saying Thomas Tuchel remains a candidate for Manchester United if Erik Ten Hag is sacked. So he's kind of confirming that. The other update that we got, and we mentioned it about, the coaching staff, which I think is kind of interesting, but, we have to take, but, and I think there were reports about this previously, so there might be some truth to it. We just don't know how true it is, right? Sam C reporting that the complete change in Manchester United's first team coaching staff was due to tensions with Erik Ten Hag. So again, not a good look for Erik Ten Hag, not a good look for him, because there was tensions between him and most of the coaching staff, including his own assistants that he picked. Now, whether he said that he wants new people because of the tensions and he didn't want to work with them anymore, which kind of makes sense as to why Benny McCarthy made those comments that he made, because it did seem to fly against Erik Ten Hag. And it did kind of paint Erik Ten Hag in not the greatest of picture, even though he kind of gave him, that it was almost like a backhanded compliment in that aspect. Like, he did say he's one of the most brilliant managers when it comes tactically, on paper, but he did then say he lacks that passion, he lacks that fire, so he kind of went at his character a little bit. But then we also got the update on Thomas Tuchel with more from Sam C, saying some within the Manchester United leadership team think Thomas Tuchel would be the man to replace Erik Ten Hag if he's sacked. However, Tuchel's side are pushing the fact that he could replace Ten Hag at the moment. So basically saying that some people in Manchester United leadership, think that, Tuchel could be the man to replace Ten Hag, but it's not like maybe the number one top of the list inside of Manchester United right now in terms of the heads of Manchester United. And really the news that we are getting about Thomas Tuchel is actually coming from Tuchel's camp, pushing out the fact that there is a potential for him to take over for Erik Ten Hag. So I guess he's trying to play himself back in. I mean, he obviously wanted the job. INEOS obviously considered him for the job and wanted him, otherwise they wouldn't have taken the time to meet with him and talk to him. There was obviously certain breakdowns in the discussion, which was over, influence, money, and a couple other things, which I think are details that they can compromise on if they want it bad enough, and they could come to some sort of agreement. So I think at this moment, I think Tuchel still would take the job, and I think he still wants it. And I think there are people in Manchester United that would want Tuchel, and they would want him to take the job, and they would think that he will succeed. And therefore, that's why I think that this link is actually strong. And I think there is actually something actually in this compared to some other ones. We're missing lines today, but there is an update for his boy that he's been asking for, and we're going to get into that in a second. But back to Sir Jim and the board real quick. Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Joel Glazer are at Old Trafford at Carrington today, so this already passed. So they were at Carrington today. There was a fan advisory board meeting and stadium discussion with Gary Neville, so Gary Neville also being there. But Erik Ten Hag is also on the agenda ahead of Tuesday's board meeting. Ten Hag's future is in the air, and this is coming from Chris Wheeler, very credible and very respected journalist. And it just makes sense. They're all meeting. They're all going to be there. Obviously, he's going to be talked about in some capacity, one way or another. Now, they're not going to make the decision on it today. The decision might come tomorrow. It might come later on in the week. But clearly, obviously, they're going to talk about the manager because it is an issue and it needs to be discussed and dealt with. So, I don't think any decision necessarily came out of it today. Definitely spoken about today in the meeting, but there is the actual meeting tomorrow where I think that there is a huge possibility that we can get either the decision made tomorrow or it will lead to a decision sometime later on down the week. And of course, we will be live to cover it tomorrow because there's going to be a lot of news to come out of that meeting tomorrow as well. And probably for the rest of the week up until we come back. So, yes. And then also with Sir Jim Ratcliffe, although Sir Jim Ratcliffe said a decision over Erik Ten Hag's future is not his call, it is understood that he, Sir Dave Brailsford, and Joel Glazer will have the final says based on the recommendations of Omar Barada and Dan Ashworth and Jason Wilcox. So we're getting actually a little bit of clarity, and this is what I wanted to know, how this is actually going to work, because I think there's been a lot of question marks over who is making the decision, who is standing in the way of the final decision, who is making the final decision on Ten Hag's future. And if Chris Wheeler is accurate, and I'm going to take his word for it because he is respected and he is a good journalist, and he puts out good stuff, incredible stuff. Does he get everything right? No. Does everybody get everything right? No. It's impossible. But he's one of the people I think you could give the benefits of the doubt to. And, you know, him coming out saying, now the one thing I'm not happy about is fucking Joel Glazer is involved. Joel Glazer should not be involved because Joel Glazer knows fuck all about anything related to football. He doesn't know anything, and obviously through his leadership and his brother, with the CEOs that they appointed and the people that they appointed, obviously they've played the biggest hand ever in ruining this club and putting us in the position we're in. So I'm not happy that Joel Glazer is involved in this, but Sir Jim, Sir David Brailsford, and Joel Glazer will have the final say, and it's going to come from the recommendations of the CEO, the director of football, and the technical director, which is Omar Barada, Dan Ashworth, and Jason Wilcox. And this is why I'm saying that there is a big possibility when you look at it from the Sir Jim Ratcliffe aspect, and you look at it from the Sir David Brailsford aspect, because Joe Glazer, either he's just going to agree with them or he's going to go against them. But I think then at that point, it's still going to be 2v1. And then, you know, I don't know how that goes down. I don't know if it's between them three and it's a committee, or Joel has more say because he's the majority leader. That aspect we don't know exactly. But if you look at it in the aspect of Sir Jim, we mentioned the guy is old, and I'm going to be blunt, and I don't like to be blunt, but he's old. You don't know how much time he has left. He doesn't know how much time he has left on this planet. He wants to see Manchester United succeed under his leadership. He wants to be the one to make Manchester United great again. He wants to see it. He wants to be alive for it. And there is a lot of things that's going to take a lot of time. The project for Old Trafford and the new stadium is going to take a long time. You know, I've heard people that I respect, that I follow, that they have mates that are high up in the British government, and they are saying that Manchester United are not going to get any funding or any money from the British government for the project of the new stadium. So they are getting zero funding from them. So they're not going to get taxpayer money. They're not going to get it from, you know, Manchester itself. They're not getting it from the British government itself, which means Sir Jim Ratcliffe is going to have to put his own money. He's going to have to try and get some money, you know, somehow from the Glazers, to get them to put money in, which I think isn't going to fucking happen. And he's going to have to try and raise money, you know, from investors or something into this project. So, you know, there's a lot of things that is going to take quite some time, and time is not on anybody's side. I think time is a key factor here. There's no time left for Ten Hag. There's not a lot of time for Sir Jim Ratcliffe. And as I mentioned before, I would take you, and Rajat brought it up before, you know, and Richard's telling me stop picking on the old people. I'm not picking on them. I'm just stating the facts. I'm just stating the facts. You got to look at it. I mean, it's easier for you, Richard. It's easier for you. But for people that aren't of that age, you know, sometimes it's hard to view it in their point, but you kind of got to put yourself in their shoes. You got to look at it as like, you know, one of his goals and one of the things he wants to do before he leaves this planet is he wants to make Manchester United good again. He wants to be he wants his name attached to that, and he wants to see it. He doesn't want to be gone and get his flowers later for it when he's not here to receive them. He wants to receive the flowers while he's still here. He wants the credit for it while he's still here. And I think if you look at it through that lens, you know, there's no messing about from him. He's not going to dilly-dally over this shit. He is clearly unhappy with Ten Hag. He is clearly over it. And clearly he wants him out. And I think Sir David Brailsford is also another one that he's very ruthless. He's gotten rid of a lot of people. He's cut people loose for way less. So I think, if you look at it in this aspect based off of this, Omar, Dan Ashworth, and Jason Wilcox can go in there and plead all they want and give, a fucking list of reasons as to why they think Erik Ten Hag should at least get the next couple matches. But they could speak for 20 hours straight. And at the end of the day, Sir Dave Brailsford, Sir Jim Ratcliffe can just be like, listen, we heard you, but we don't fucking care anymore. He's done. Get rid of him and do your job and get somebody else that can get the fucking job done, because I want to see results now. And I think that's what's going to happen. I really do believe, because they are ruthless people. They are. And if you look into their history, you will realize how actually ruthless they are, and that they are, this is business. Business is a cutthroat place. And they are definitely cutthroat people. They are not, they're not people that are going to pretend to be your friend, and they're not going to give you sympathy. They're not going to give you, they're not going to be like, oh, but he's a nice guy, I feel bad for him, like maybe we should give him some more time. No, they're not going to do that. They are not. They've never done that in their careers. They're not going to do it today. They're not going to do it tomorrow. Ten Hag, Chris Wheeler, more updates, saying talks are ongoing at Manchester United over Erik Ten Hag's future ahead of tomorrow's board meeting in London. The club must decide whether to stand by Ten Hag again or sack him. There is no rush to make that decision, and sources say that no major developments are expected today. Well, in my opinion, there are at least some minor major developments that came out today. But instead of a major development such as the decision to sack him or not sack him, I don't think it would, if it's going to come, it would be tomorrow or the days after, for sure. This came from Rob Dawson, and again, this is all chronological order. Erik Ten Hag has spoke to Manchester United's leadership team after the game against Aston Villa and was not given an indication that his job is under immediate threat. To me, that means nothing, leading him to believe he is safe for now. If he wants to pretend like he's safe for now, then he can pretend like that, but I don't think that's the case. Ten Hag has now gone on holiday, like I mentioned. So Ten Hag is on holiday. INEOS might have to disrupt another holiday, or they might extend his holiday. If they sack him, he can just, stay on holiday. So, maybe he's gone on holiday because he's prepping. He's going to collect this 17 million and he's going to stay in an extended holiday. And then this came as of, from the start of the show, the most recent stuff. There is now a growing feeling at Manchester United's football committee. Joel Glazer, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and Sir David Brailsford may pull the trigger and sack Erik Ten Hag sooner rather than later. And this is what I'm trying to get into. And this is why I said you were wrong, Rajat. Because of these updates. And I think, you see pictures of Sir Jim, you see his reaction at the matches. He is clearly unhappy. He is clearly, not backing Erik Ten Hag anymore. Even if you listen to his comments that he made to the BBC the other day, they were not, they were not quotes of confidence in terms of Erik Ten Hag. So I think Sir Jim is over Ten Hag. And I think Sir David Brailsford is in the same camp as Sir Jim. That is his right-hand man. And I think they are the same. And I think Joel Glazer is just, he's spineless. I think Joel Glazer will agree with whatever Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Sir David Brailsford say, and more likely and more so Sir Jim Ratcliffe, because Sir Jim Ratcliffe is a billionaire. And I think Joel Glazer is one of those people that he doesn't listen to people's opinions unless you're kind of on the same level as him in terms of money or wealth in that aspect. So I think the only person he would really respect their opinion and listen to their opinion would be Sir Jim Ratcliffe, because Sir Jim Ratcliffe is a billionaire. I think everybody else he would kind of look down upon, like they've done for years and years and years. The fans, they look at us as ants. They look at us as pests. We're insignificant to them. The players are just just money signs. They don't view many people in life as equals, as human beings. They look down upon them. So I think Joel will agree with whatever Sir Jim says and decides. So therefore, you have the top three people at Manchester United, the ones with the final say, all pretty much aligned with that. He needs to be sacked and you have to sack him. So that's why I think that he is going to get sacked. And Amir saying many fans not happy on you, Ten Hag, and yeah, I mean, definitely he's lost the support of the fan base. You know, it used to be majority Ten Hag in, and if you're Ten Hag in now, you are in the minority. You are in the minority, and you are in a significantly small minority as well, because it is overwhelmingly against Erik Ten Hag now. So you know he's lost the fan base, and he's lost at least 3 out of the 6 board members, and I think he's lost 3 of the most important and most powerful board members. So, and then there is this with Rude, coming from Pete Hall as well, who he is also very credible, saying some figures within Manchester United have observed Ruud van Nistelrooy acting more like a manager in recent weeks. So, you know, it seems like Ruud is kind of just, you know, taking the responsibility, taking it upon himself, to act in the manner of what they expect from a manager. So that's, you know, probably be playing into why they want to give Ruud at least the interim. I think they see that he has manager qualities. I think they like what they've seen since he's come to the club, and they think that they can at the very least give him the interim if they don't have somebody to come in immediately, in the, you know, when Ten Hag is sacked. And Jamie Jackson, this was right before we went live, another credible journalist, highly respected. Erik Ten Hag's future at Manchester United will be decided at an executive summit tomorrow. Ruud van Nistelrooy is favored as caretaker replacement should a change be made. And for me, I think that pretty much says that he is done. And then this last update that we got before we went live, Brentford manager Thomas Frank is among the potential permanent successors of Erik Ten Hag, and that is also from Jamie Jackson. And I you know, he doesn't fill me with confidence. I'm gonna use the term the kids are the youth are using today. Some of the older people in here might have heard it, might have not. But he doesn't look like he's got the aura for Manchester United. Aura, a big word right now. I think Ruud has more aura than him. If we're rating things on aura, then Thomas Frank definitely ain't your candidate. But that's for the kids, because everything's about aura now. It's all about the vibe they give off, the aura that surrounds them. Thomas Frank, he don't got aura. He got zero aura. The Ruud definitely got some aura to him, just the way he looks and presents himself, right? And carries himself. Thomas Frank, he don't got that aura. So if we're going off of aura, Thomas Frank ain't going to be your manager. Amir wants a fan calling show. We're working on it, Amir. I'm trying to set it up. I might be able to get it done by the end of this week. Goal for me, we're going to have it by the time things return for Manchester United. I need to set it up. I do. I need to take some time. I've been slacking. I've been preoccupied with some other things. But I will make a promise to everybody in here. You know, our always returning viewers, new viewers. I am going to get the call-in show, because I think it is important, and I think it is a very, very good thing to have. And I think it'll be good for the channel. And I want to hear people's voices. I want to hear people's tones. I want to hear, you know, I don't want to read your comments off of chat. As much as I love the chat, and the chat's important as well, I think direct communication is the best communication you could ever get. So I'm going to work on it. I'm going to try and implement it. It might not work great the first time, but we're going to get through that stuff. You know, we're still trying to grow as a community and as a channel. We're doing excellent. I think we're doing a very good job. I love the channel. I love the community so far. It's only going to get better. And we're all in this together. So, you know, but let me get to you guys, what you guys are saying in the chat right now. I'm going to go check to see if we got any more updates while I've been live. And then we could kind of freestyle for the last couple minutes. Lyle previously saying money-wise and getting rid of the Glazers is the only reason why Qatar was so attractive. Yeah. I mean, that was the best possible thing we could have got, right? We could have cleared the debt. We could have built the stadium. We could have done everything because of the money aspect. And they could have been able to do it. It's a little bit harder, with the current situation, especially because you still have to think about it. So Jim he's not a majority owner. So, while a lot of people want him to do certain things, and while a lot of people still are dubious or doubt him as to why he is involved, you have to look at it also. It's important to have your own opinion, but then you have to also, I feel like it's important to kind of put yourself in their shoes and look at it kind of from their perspective, because if you're not the majority owner of Manchester United, we know the problems there. We know that, if the Glazers ever do decide to leave or decide to sell all of their shares and get out, we do know whoever takes it is going to have to pay their debt. And as a business person, that's fucking insane. It's an insane thing to do, that you're going to pay somebody else's debt that they loaded onto the club when they got it practically for free or on debt, which is technically for free because they're never paying the debt back. It's a bad business move for you, and it's stupid because it's like you're using your money to pay for somebody else's shit. So it's not an easy situation to manage, and that's why I kind of give my thing to Sir Jim Ratcliffe, because I think he is trying, but I don't think it's as clear cut as people want it to be, and it's not an easy situation. We back then were wanting full reset. Guess INEOS 28% stake is okay. I mean, it's better than nothing, Rajat, and sometimes you got to take what you can get. Sometimes you got to take small W's. A small W is better than an L. A small W is better than nothing at all. Obviously, we wanted 100%. The reality was the Glazers were never going to give up 100%. We've discussed this in full term. They used the Qataris. They used that bid to get partial investment. They were never going to sell unless Qatar came in and gave something absolutely ridiculous, like 8 billion something, which they were never going to do, because nobody would do that, because that's just absolutely out of your mind. I don't care how much money you have. You would be made a fool. You would be laughed at by those elites, the rich people, the super powerful people in the world. They would laugh at you. They would, those are your peers when you're in that realm, and you would look like a complete fool and moron. So nobody would do it. And the Glazers used them to get a valuation of real time money. And then they took that valuation and they went to the people that were willing to take a partial stake, because they had to give up a partial stake. And they said, well, I got an offer in cash for this amount, so we want this amount from your partial bid. And that's what they did. They were never going to sell. They were never ever going to sell. Axe saying, why the hell has he hired people if he is not going to trust them? What kind of assessment have they made during the summer? We lost Neves because of that time wasting. Well, Axe, I think he is trying. I think part of it, and I talked about this, I think part of it is his emotions. I don't think he doesn't trust him, because I think if he doesn't trust him, or if he's not going to trust him, right, I think he would have already made the decision. But I think that part of it is there is an emotion, because, again, for him personally, he wants to see things happen. And I think he is, he's a smart man. I think he understands that there's not a lot of time for a lot of things that need to happen at this club. And I think he's growing impatient. And there is always a possibility that he just becomes absolutely fed up with it and tells them to fucking get on with it. And him and Sir David did entrust Erik Ten Hag. They were the ones that made the decision to keep him on. It wasn't Omar Barada. It wasn't Jason Wilcox. It wasn't Dan Ashworth. They were not the ones that made the decision in May after the FA Cup. They were not the ones that did it. It was Sir Jim and it was Sir David Brailsford. The only difference is that I think, Omar, Dan Ashworth, and Jason Wilcox, I think they put all this time and they put a lot of resources into backing Erik Ten Hag, only for it to very quickly fail. And they don't see it as a very good situation to be in. In fact, that they have to sack the manager after doing all of that. But Sir Jim and Sir David might not give a fuck, because they've operated multiple different businesses and companies in a similar manner, and they still ended up getting results. Sometimes you make a plan, but the plan falls apart quickly, or the plan wasn't good enough to to start with, and you might have to take an initial L, but you have to change courses and set a new path and then go on that. So, you know, I don't think it's that he doesn't necessarily trust him, but I think it might just be at the point where he is just done. He is fed up, and that he will entrust him to set out a new plan, and he will give them permission, and he will allow them to do that job, but he will want the decision for them to be sacked. So for Ten Hag to be sacked. Amir is saying many people talk about you because Manchester United the biggest and the best in the world. They absolutely do. I mean, you know, the eyes and the talk of Manchester United is worldwide, and it is the biggest in the world, in my opinion. I don't think anybody gets the attention we get. I don't think anybody gets the interaction when, you know, our name is linked to anything. And so there is always a lot of discussion. There is always a lot of eyes. And it comes with a lot of pressure. And that's why, you know, we've said it takes special people to be at this club and to succeed. And it's not easy. It's not easy. Rashad saying many Erik Ten Hags are turning on him. It's looking peak. They've turned on him. Not they're turning on him. They have turned on him. It has already happened. Lyle says that he feels like Rude will cook. That's because he got that aura. He's got that aura, Lyle. He has that aura. Richard's saying I have aura. It's called Guinness. Guinness definitely has aura. And if you drink some Guinness, if you're ever watching and you want to be a sponsor of the show, we'll gladly have you. Guinness gives you aura. You know, forget Red Bull and wings. Drink some Guinness and you get some aura. We're giving free plugs to Guinness. Amir saying, should INEOS sack Ten Hag during the international break? I believe they should, Amir. I believe they should. I think we've tried to give him time. I think the direction it's going, I don't think there's any real turning it around. And I think it would be a mistake, personally. I've reached this conclusion, and this is how I honestly feel now. I think that it would be a mistake if they don't sack him, because I don't see results, positive results. And when I mean positive results, I've mentioned this. We cannot lose and we cannot draw any of the upcoming matches. We cannot lose and draw against Brentford. We cannot lose and draw against Fenerbahce. We cannot lose and draw against West Ham. And at this moment in time, with the way we are playing, with the way we are performing, with the way the team has been going, you cannot sit there and say, logically, using your head, don't use your heart on this, logically, use your head. You cannot say Manchester United are going to win any of those matches. There is no proof to back that up. So unfortunately, I think for the betterment of the club to try and get results out of those matches, we need a change at manager. We need some fresh ideas in terms of setup, playing style, you know, some tactics, lineups, everything like that. I think we need a fresh. I think we need a fresher breath air in that department. I really do. I do. And it hurts because I backed this manager. I wanted him to succeed. I really truly did believe that he would succeed, but it just hasn't worked in that way, and it has failed. And I think it's over. I think time is up. I think time is up. I have no idea. Are they gonna? But that's what I think, and that's what I believe. Now let me go and check to see if we have any updates while we went live, because I feel like we do, because today is yes. So we do have quite a numerous amount of updates. So bear with me as we go through this, because I'm doing this live, and the timeline does get messed up sometimes. Some things get reported, so keep with me. I'm gonna try and do it as good as possible. I'm trying to find the last thing. So before we get back into the manager thing, two quick updates. Mazawari is not going to be involved in internationals because he has an injury. Kobe Mainu has withdrawn from the England squad due to an injury. And Garnacho will also not be involved in internationals due to knock or injuries. He's been playing with a knee problem for the past 2 matches, he said, which, maybe explains why he hasn't been as good as he was in previous matches, which I'm actually happy about, because I don't want them to go on international. I want them to be fit for Manchester United. So the fact that they've all pulled out and they're looking after themselves, and which means that they should be available after the international break, positive in my opinion. I hope they quickly recover, and that nothing is too long term or not too serious. So just giving you the updates on those players. Those are the 3 players. Wayne Rooney has made a comment about Erik Ten Hag, saying Erik Ten Hag, he's an experienced manager. I know he's trying extremely hard to get it right. I think the culture of the football club is we've seen a lot of players who are coming in, a lot of foreign players. I think United's identity was always good. So, interesting comment from Wayne Rooney there. I don't know what he's really trying to say out of that. There's a guy that runs a Twitter account that he seems to be in the know. A lot of big respected people follow him. I don't know if they know who he is. You could go check out the account if you want, which I usually don't do, but you can go check it out. It's called United Scout at United SC0UT. On X, on Twitter, this guy gets leaked lineups. He knows a lot of inside information for whatever reason. I don't know who he is. I don't know if people know who he is, or what kind of association he has, but he does seem to get a lot of inside information. And he is saying, tomorrow is a massive, massive day for this club. No doubt about it. Tomorrow will hold the biggest decision under INEOS regime so far. Don't get this wrong, lads. And he added at INEOS. So, and I think he's right. Many people are looking at INEOS right now like, what are you going to do? And whatever they choose to do, it will be a big decision. And it will have impact on how the fans perceive and support INEOS. I think if they don't sack him, I think a lot of the fans, and I would say a majority, are going to be pissed off at INEOS. I think they're going to be upset at INEOS. I think that some will even lose faith at INEOS. And they're going to go against INEOS. So, there is pressure on INEOS to make the decision that people want. And reportedly, and it's coming out, all over the place, that tomorrow is the decision on Erik Ten Hag's future. So we will be live for that. So make sure that you guys are here. We don't know what time. I don't remember what time the meeting's at. So I don't know what time. We're gonna have to go live based on if we get the decision made, at that time. So we might have to go live at a random time. But I will try and keep everybody updated. But for sure we will be live tomorrow covering this because it's going to be huge. It is going to be huge. More updates. This is coming from James Ducker in the Telegraph, another very credible top-tier source, saying Erik Ten Hag has left for a short holiday, working very much on the basis that he expects to be in charge when Manchester United return to action against Brentford after the international break. So Erik Ten Hag doesn't believe that he's going to lose his job. Erik Ten Hag believes that he's keeping his job, which may be naive from Erik Ten Hag because I think that he is going to get sacked. I think that he is going to lose his job. I don't know what they've told him. I don't know what they've discussed. Somebody's saying that the fact that Erik Ten Hag has gone on holiday means that he's staying. I don't know why, why that means that he is. I don't know what him going on holiday has to do with the fact that he's staying. They could have just told him everything is fine, but obviously, clearly, if the decision hasn't been made or they're going to discuss the decision tomorrow, doesn't mean that he's staying. I mean, he could be sacked. I could be wrong. I feel like he's going to be sacked and he could end up staying, but I don't think him going on holiday means that he's staying. I think that's a weird thing to say. Laurie Whitwell is saying 17 minutes ago that INEOS do not want to change coaches at this time, but the results will eventually dictate the decision, reports Laurie Whitwell. And I think, I've been hitting on that and I've been saying that they are very reluctant to change this because they've put in a lot of effort. They've backed him. They gave him funding. They bring in a new coaching staff. They put a lot of time and effort and planning into backing Erik Ten Hag, and they really don't want to sack him. But the position and the results that we gotten and that we are in is going to leave them no choice. And that's why I think that they're going to have to sack him, whether they want to or not. And that's why I think that he is going to get sacked. Because we are in 14th. We are 20th in the Europa League. And I think it's a huge gamble to keep him in charge for the next 3 matches. Because if we don't beat Brentford, we can go down lower in the league, pending other results, or we could get further away from top 4, or both, right? If we don't beat Fenerbahce, which is going to be an extremely tough game in an extremely difficult environment, right? We'll go down lower in the Europa League, which means we're going to put ourselves in a much harder position to qualify for the next round and be in Europe. And our goal was to win the Europa League to give us the best shot at being in the Champions League, just in case we don't finish in the top four. So we're going to be further away from that, and then we have to play another Premier League match if he's still here. And there's no guarantee that he wins that either. And we could be even further away from top four and even closer or in relegation. So I think it's a massive gamble if they keep him in charge. And I think it would be a mistake because at that time, you're kind of just prolonging the inevitable, in my opinion. If you give him the Brentford match and he loses the Brentford match, you sack him then. Well, a lot of people are going to perceive it as that was a waste because we could have just gotten somebody else in, Rude or whoever it is. They could have taken over and maybe we could have won that match instead of losing it. So we wasted another match and another opportunity to try and turn the club's fortunes around. So Erik Ten Hag assumes that he's staying, and he's gone on short holiday. Andy Mitten is saying that Erik Ten Hag's position at the club is being seriously questioned. It is very much up in the air amid reports, and Andy Mitten is saying that. So I think it's leaning a lot, and it feels very, very different than it did in May after the FA Cup. It feels very, very different to me. It doesn't feel like he's going to keep his job. I felt like he was going to keep his job in May. I wanted him to keep his job in May. But I don't think he's going to be able to do it. I don't think he's going to be. I don't think he is. I think he's going to get sacked. I think the writing is on the wall. Eric, no, same thing. Disco Mirror is now reporting Thomas Tuchel is the favorite to replace Erik Ten Hag. Tuchel is open to becoming Manchester United manager and is ready. Ten Hag's fate will be decided tomorrow, coming from the Disco Mirror. This was about 10 minutes ago, so this is one of the most latest and recent updates. Tuchel open to taking the United job now, despite the breakdown of talks in the summer. So Tuchel has put himself right back in. Maybe he's gave himself some time to think about it. Maybe he's itching to get back in, so he's willing to compromise on some of the things he so hardly negotiated. Wayne Rooney had a couple more things to say, which is I was wondering where those quotes went, and now they have appeared. So we did have that initial Wayne Rooney quote saying that he was asked on whether Ten Hag is the right man. He said that's for the owners to look at. Erik Ten Hag is a fantastic manager. He's won trophies everywhere. He's been including Manchester United. So yes, he's going through a difficult time, and I think he would say that himself. He also said Manchester United want the challenge for titles. So to be 14th, I'm sure everyone at the club knows we have to do better. I know Erik Ten Hag is doing everything he can try to improve the situation. The players and I said this last season. Have to do better than what they're doing. And I think that's fair that the players do have to do better than what we are seeing. But also, there is blame on Erik Ten Hag. He has made mistakes. He has done wrong things. And he does stubbornly refuse to change things. Rooney was also asked if there's any advice he would give to Ten Hag, and he said it's not for me to give Erik Ten Hag advice. He's the manager of Manchester United, and he's a very experienced manager. When you're going through a tough time, the important thing is to hang in there and work hard. I think they showed a good spirit to get a point against Villa, but the fans probably want to see a bit more. So I think Rooney kind of being very level-headed. I think he's kind of speaking from a because he is a manager and he's been sacked a couple times already. So I think he's kind of speaking from a manager's perspective more than a ex-player and fan of Manchester United. I think he's speaking more of a managerial position. So I think there's a little bit of sympathy in there for Erik Ten Hag because I think he does understand how difficult the job is. Because he's been in those shoes, and obviously he hasn't been at a club like Manchester United. So while it is difficult at any level, it's obviously more difficult as you go up the food chain. So I think he has some sympathy for Ten Hag, and that's why he's making the statements he's making. But yeah, what do you guys think? What are you guys feeling? Ray's saying he's tired of debating Erik Ten Hag. Let's move on. 2 weeks off for them. Good call. Yes, it's very good for our players. Maz are worried because of his history, but hopefully it's just precautionary. I don't think it's like too serious with Maz, but definitely, you know, rather be safe than sorry. You don't gotta go. There's gonna be plenty of international matches. You want to be fit for the rest of the season. You have a lot of games coming up for Manchester United. I always say club over country, but it's not right for the players because obviously, you know, many of them are proud to represent their country and stuff like that. So, you know, it is what it is. But for me, it's always club over country. And you know, if they take care of themselves so they're available for the club, then I, you know, can't ask for any more, and I'm happy for that. And Ray said we can't enjoy a game anymore. We can, we can't, but we can't enjoy a game for many reasons. We can't enjoy a game because the football isn't good. We can't enjoy a game because we can't get a positive result. We can't enjoy a game because we don't see, you know, anything positive really from the players, the setup, the team, you know, the manager. Nothing. There's nothing. The positivity has been completely sucked out of Manchester United. We were all on a high, you know, at the end of the summer window. We were all on a high. There was positivity breeding through Manchester United. Everybody was excited for the season. Everybody was, you know, hyped for the season. Everybody was positive. Everybody was in a positive light. That has been completely sucked out of Manchester United, and it has evaporated within 6 matches in the Premier League, 7 matches, because of the results, and combine the Europa League with that as well. So, you know, and to get that back with the amount of matches coming, you know, how quickly they're coming and the amount of matches we have to play, you know, it doesn't look likely at all. Be careful what you wish for, Southgate. Well, we had an update earlier, Ray, and you know, we had a very credible update. So Gareth Southgate actually is not. I'll find it. I gotta click through here, but I'll find it for you. So, and anybody else that's missed it, because yeah, I get that, and I would not support Gareth Southgate at all. You know, he's one of the only people that if INEOS would decide to get him in. But David Ornstein, who is one of the most credible and one of the best remaining journalists, and I would call him a real journalist and a real football reporter, and you know, he is a, you know, respectful guy, respectable guy. He came out yesterday speaking to NBC Sports. This was last night after the match, saying that Gareth Southgate was never a contender for the Manchester United job in the summer, and there is no information to suggest he would be now. So I'm going to take his word on it. You know, I did question it at the time, that it seemed like maybe it was just British biased media trying to hype up Southgate. I mean, we all know that Southgate has good ties to the media anyway. They never attacked him. They never were bad to him. They always, you know, were very nice to him. And they always, you know, reported very good for him. So maybe he has some ties in there, you know, people in his camp trying to get him a job, because I think maybe he wants a job and he's trying to link himself to the Manchester United job to get an offer from somebody else, but nobody wants him because he's a shit manager. And, you know, we've said that, you know, once he leaves England, he will not get a job in the Premier League. And I think he's trying to get a job in the Premier League by linking his name to Manchester United so that he could get an offer from a smaller team and take it. But I don't think that's working, because I don't think anybody wants him. And rightfully so, because nobody wants to see that football. Nobody wants to see that shit. Like, nobody wants him. So, yeah, that was that update. Axe is saying, I believe that is a bigger gamble to bring a new manager. I mean, the pressure will remain even if Erik Ten Hag leaves. Plus, the players will need to adapt to a new style of play. Plus, most of the squad was brought by Erik Ten Hag. Well, if INEOS do what they're supposed to do, the players, I think there's a fair point. If you look at the players that we bring in this summer, specifically this summer, because this summer was under INEOS, the players that we bring in this summer, any manager that you bring in, or majority of manager that you bring in, they will use, or they will be able to use, or they will want the players that we bring in. I think they can use them. I think they're good enough to use them. Some of them are on the younger side and they have to develop, which is even good, because the manager at that time can then develop them in the way that they would want to use them. So I think in the aspect of that, of those 5 players, I think they will happily take those players. I don't think there's a problem with those players. There might be a problem with some of the players that were here previously. There might be a problem with some of the players that were brought in before INEOS. But as far as INEOS are concerned, they've had one transfer window. They bring in a set amount of players, and they have a project to continue. The next transfer window, they're going to bring in more players. They're going to get rid of other players. So, you know, they said and they promised that they are going to bring in and do player recruitment based on a certain philosophy, regardless of the manager. And if that is true, then that shouldn't be an issue going forward, Axe. And I do disagree, though, that I don't think that it is a bigger gamble. It could be, but I certainly don't believe it right now, because I just think that it's very sour with Ten Hag, and I think it's dry with Ten Hag, and I think you bring in somebody. I think even if you give it to Rude for a couple matches, I think the bounce that we will get from that will be able to lift the team to get a couple positive results and help us out, especially in the next couple matches. And it depends how he sets them up, but if he's smart enough, I think he could set it up for the team to be able to at least win a couple matches. Rich is saying, I was prepared to give him a chance, but let him go back to the Dutch league. He is more suited there, not a Manchester United manager. And Axe is saying, do you promise me that if the next manager gets sacked and INEOS is still at United, you will say rat out? It depends the overall project. I think the manager thing might be a process that we might have to go through. You know, they might not get it right on the next manager. But again, you know, no manager has succeeded since Sir Alex Ferguson. So the manager thing is still a bit of a problem. But it would also depend on the rest of the aspect. It would depend on the player recruitment. It would depend on the overall project. If the overall project starts looking like it's going nowhere near to the things that they promised that they were going to do and get done for us, then I will have to start, you know, going against INEOS. But only time will tell, and you know, I can't say that now. I will have to make my decision like I do with everything in that moment. You know, I will face the facts at that moment. I will look at things you know, for what they are, and I will say what I feel and believe at that moment. So, you know, I can't tell you, Axe, at this moment. But it depends, you know, it depends. I do believe at this time that, you know, there is still a big possibility that just because they sack Erik Ten Hag and they hire, you know, whoever they hire, whether it's Tuchel or somebody else, it doesn't mean that it's going to work. It doesn't mean that it's going to be successful. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to end up better than Erik Ten Hag's 3 seasons. It could be worse. But I still think that you need to do a change. I still believe that a change is needed. And yeah, we just have to see what that brings. And then you have to, you know, formulate your opinion and your belief off of what happens. You know. Ray's saying tomorrow nothing, the same as today. That's what you believe, that nothing's going to come out of it tomorrow. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, it is a possibility, Ray, but, you know, off of the number of credible journalists that are saying that, you know, the decision is coming tomorrow, or that this decision will be made out of tomorrow. I do feel like right now, and maybe I'm tapping in more to my emotional side and not my head, but I do feel that a decision is going to come tomorrow. And if it doesn't come tomorrow, I think it will be, you know, in the next couple days. But if they're having this meeting, and that's what really the meeting is about, you know, I think that, you know, there is going to be a decision made. Whether it is to sack him or not sack him, I think some type of a decision will be made. Now, they might take a little bit longer, like they did last time in the summer, where they were saying that, you know, a decision was imminent, and then it took like a week or 2 weeks to make the decision. It could be like that. We do have time. There is time. It's not like we have a match at the weekend. So they could take an extra couple days to deliberate it, or to you know, they can make the decision. not announce the decision and then start planning based off of what they do. So if they do decide to sack him tomorrow, they might not announce the sacking, but maybe they've made the decision, and then they kind of have to plan where we're going forward once we announce the sacking. You know, what are we doing? Is Ruud coming in? Do we have to start speaking to other managers? Get Tuchel on the phone or whoever else is available. See what's going on there. Because there are implications. Like if they do sack Tuchel, if they do sack Ten Hag, right? Like you still have to make decisions. Like if Tuchel wants the job and they want Tuchel, then they have to go talk to Tuchel. They have to come to an agreement with Tuchel, and they might just bring Tuchel in before our next match and not even put Ruud as interim. But if they can't come to an agreement with the manager, then they might have to put Ruud as interim, so that it's not just like we sack Ten Hag, we announce it literally 20 minutes after we've made that decision, and then we go from there. They kind of have to plan out based on whatever they decide. Obviously, if they don't sack him, I think then we might get an announcement quicker than if they do sack him, because if they don't sack him, then things kind of stay the same as where they are, and there's not much really that you got to do other than you go into the international break and wait for him to come back, and then you see what happens. So, but there is a possibility, right? I'm not saying there isn't, but I just think that it's more than likely that it seems like that a decision will be made tomorrow. Will we know exactly what the decision is? It's yet to be seen. But yeah, more updates. No, it's a repeat. Just from the Disco Mirror. Then what we talked about before. That Thomas Tuchel is the favorite. Erik Ten Hag's fate will be decided on Tuesday when the hierarchy meet for crunch talks, with Thomas Tuchel the new favorite to succeed him. So, if we're going off of what they're saying now, there is that possibility that Tuchel, right, becomes the manager. Ruud never touches the interim, because there is enough time to get Tuchel in and get him in before we come back to actually playing football. So there is that possibility. So, right now, let's say they sack him. There's two paths. Either Ruud becomes the interim, right? Or maybe a Carrick or something, but Ruud as assistant, or vice versa. Or they sack him. They don't announce it immediately. They call up a couple available managers, or managers that they want. They see if they can make a deal with them to get them in, depending on the circumstances. Obviously, Tuchel is free. There's like one or two, like Thomas Frank, for example, they would have to pay and buy him out, which is why I think it's a little bit less likely, because if you're going to pay 17 million to Erik Ten Hag, I think they're not willing to pay to buy out a manager at this current time. And they would probably leave it for later down the line. So it does seem like Tuchel is the most likely, just solely because he's free and they still like him anyway. And they can sack him and then call up Tuchel, come to an agreement, give Tuchel the job, and Ruud van Nistelrooy never touches interim and never becomes interim manager. There is also that possibility. So, or he could just stay. He could just stay and we go play against Brentford. And whatever happens in Brentford, if he loses, then maybe he gets sacked. If he wins, then maybe, the sack talk dies down. And maybe we start going in a different direction and things improve somehow. I don't see it, but all possibilities. I'm not, disclosing. I'm not dismissing anything. I'm just saying that I feel like some things are more likely than others, but it could go anyway. Ray's saying he thinks they will give him the next 5 matches and they will not sack him. To me, Ray, if they do that, I think it's insane. I think it's crazy. I think if INEOS, if INEOS give him the next 5 matches and we don't win a single match in those 5 matches, INEOS are going to be in even worse position, because the fans are going to be, while they're going to be pissed at Ten Hag and they're going to be screaming Ten Hag out, the blame is going to fall on INEOS. And INEOS don't want that blame because they still have the majority of the fans on their side. And I don't know if they want to take that risk. I don't know if they want to take that risk because it's going to go on them. If they don't sack him, because many people are asking for him to be sacked, the majority are asking for him to be sacked. If they don't sack him and they give him the next couple matches, let's say they give him 3 matches, not even 5. Let's say they give him 3, and he doesn't win any of the 3 matches, that blame is going directly on INEOS. The hate is going directly to INEOS. And people are going to start going at INEOS. And I don't think that they want them. And Lyle saying, what did Ratcliffe do to you? To act sounds personal. And he said, the hell? He said, I dislike billionaires. Well, fair enough. Fair enough. But I mean, somebody's got to run us. Somebody's got to own us. You know, so... and technically, to be fair, Axe, I mean, the sheiks are billionaires as well. So, you know, just because it's a state-run thing or it's a family-owned thing, they are billionaires as well. One is just, you know, it's a family country sort of thing, and one is an individual that amassed an empire and created things. But you know, it is what it is. But that's kind of how I view it. They're all pretty much the same, regardless. You know, whether it's a state-owned country run whatever, you know, with a family that's in charge of the country, or a billionaire, one man, whatever it is. Like they're all the same. And Axe saying, "Oh, I dislike the Sheik as well, even more probably." Well, you know, my ultimate thing would be for Manchester United to be owned by the fans, like how it's done in Spain or Portugal. I believe that every football club in the world should be like that. But you know, that's unfortunately not the reality. That's never going to happen, because the way things are. You know, I always thought, you know, the model that they have in Spain and the model that they have in Portugal is the best models, where it's run by the fans, it's owned by the fans, pretty much. Like they elect who's in charge. Like they elect somebody to be in charge, but you can lose your position, and money is not, you know, it doesn't matter if you're a billionaire or you have no money. It's by the people, and I you know, for me, that's probably the best model. But the Premier League clubs, there's too much money involved in it. It will never get there. I mean, unless the British government come in and do something about it, which they won't, because they also like the money aspect of it. So, unfortunately, the workers should own the means of production. Well, yeah, just the fans. I mean, the fans in general. I you know, like, go look at the Portuguese clubs. Go look at their models. Go look at, I mean, even Germany is the same as well. I think almost every country is like that, except for one or two. You know, England. You know, and Lyle's saying, "I will be a billionaire one day. Please don't dislike me too much." Me too. Me too. Are you gonna hate me, Axe, if I become a billionaire? Because I'm trying to be one. So if I become a billionaire, you're gonna stop watching the show? Are you gonna stop coming in? I'm trying to be a billionaire. What if you become a billionaire, Axe? Will you hate yourself? I'm just playing around, Axe. I'm just playing around. Let me see. Double checking news. Oh boy. Yeah, so that is the latest news. The Thomas Tuchel update is the latest and most up-to-date news. I don't think we you know, we might get something a little bit later, but I don't think we're going to get much. And obviously, we're going to get a lot more tomorrow. We're probably going to see a barrage of updates. You know, a barrage of updates tomorrow like we did today, because there was quite a lot. And usually, sometimes there is some sporadic, randomly 1 hour where, you know, something does come out. It could come out in an hour or so. So if that does happen, I'll make sure to cover it first thing on the show tomorrow. For sure. You know, we got a lot of likes, and we got a lot of more newer people that joined in the chat today. So I think today was a very, very good show. I'm very, very happy. You know, I knew that we would start getting back up there eventually, because we were doing very, very well. So I thoroughly enjoyed today's show. It was very, very good. Thank you to everybody that smashed the like button. If you subscribed, I have to get my subscribe notification thing back on. I had one here that would pop up that would put your name, but I lost all the settings at one point, and I haven't put it back in. So I want to get that back up. So if you did subscribe and I missed you, I appreciate you subscribing. I appreciate you joining the community and stuff. And we look forward to hearing from you and seeing from you on more shows. We will be back live tomorrow. We might do this time. I'm planning to do the time that we did today, so 2:40 p.m. Eastern time, 2:45 p.m. Eastern time, or that would be 7:45 p.m. Eastern time, UK time. Sorry. So I am planning to do that, but it depends on what time the meeting is, Manchester United, and what kind of information comes out. Because obviously, if we get information that, the decision has been made and we are, alerted to what the decision is, we would have to go live at that time to cover it. So, I might have to go live at a certain time other than that time. So just keep your eyes peeled. But, yeah, if we don't get to this decision by that time, you'll see the show scheduled, and if you turn on your notifications, you'll obviously be alerted to when we are going live, because I do schedule the show, at least an hour before to give you guys some heads up. I try to do my best. Axe saying countries in which socialism is unpopular don't follow the football ownership model from Spain or Portugal. Axe saying you will never become a billionaire. Not with that mentality, you won't. It's all jokes. It's going to be a lot of murmurs and rumors tomorrow. I mean, that is a big possibility. We could possibly not get, an actual decision statement of some sort or whatever. We could just get more kind of like today, where it is just rumors and news or whatever you want to call it. That is a possibility. That is definitely a possibility. Because again, there's also the aspect, there's many different ways you could look at it, there's many different ways that you could think about it, and one of them is that the fact that INEOS did take their time last time, and they didn't rush into a judgment, and they could do the same here as well. So they still have time. There's time, there's at least another 2 weeks. They have a full 2 weeks, or I would say there's at least a week, because you wouldn't want to get it in with at least a week of build up. So they have at least the rest of the week to really make a decision if they want. So they don't have to necessarily announce it tomorrow or make a final decision. But yeah, I don't know. Something just feels to me like something is going to happen. If not tomorrow, the day after, or the day after that, sometime by the time we get to Friday, I think there will be some sort of a definite decision announced. Axe is saying, to be honest, when this channel will become a big one, you will no longer need me, Eric, and I will leave to support a smaller channel. Really, Axe? Well, I want you here. I don't think I need you. It's not that I need you. It's that I want you here. Yeah, It's not the thing of that I need you, Axe. It's that I want you here. I like your opinions. I like what you have to say, and I like that you're very involved, and you're you whatever you believe in, you believe in it, and you're authentic about it, and you stay true to what you believe in. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Yeah, I hope not. I hope, even if you do go support a smaller channel, I hope you do pop in from time to time if we ever do get that big, because I would want you to be around. You know what I mean? I would want you to be around. So, because I respect your opinion, Axe. That's why. I respect your opinion, and I think you're a good member of the community. That's why. That's why. Because it's not about a need. It's because it's a want. Like I think like I said, I think you give good insight, and I like your opinions. I like how you, first of all, you don't just go with the crowd or the majority. You have something that you believe in, and you stick to it, and I respect that. And I think that's important. And I think people that are part of that part of this community that hold those values are important people to have, and part of the channel, regardless of how big we are. I mean, we could have 700,000 people watching this thing live, but the more people that are like you, the better. I think it creates a better community. So while I might not necessarily need you for viewership terms, I would want you. I would want you here, of course, because you're important to the show in that aspect. So and you're important to the community. So yeah, but you you're allowed to do whatever you want. You know, you don't have to stay. It's okay. If you feel like that's what you need to do, you could go to smaller channel and do that too. But I would hope that you would pop in from time to time, at least say hi or something, you know? Yeah, definitely. Because I would miss you. I would miss you. I would miss everybody here if they left at some point. You know, I'm gonna remember all of you. If we ever get to a big spot where we have, you know, thousands of people watching or something like that at one time, I'm gonna definitely remember all of you. I'll remember Axe forever, Richard forever, Lyle, Ray, Lions, Stephanie, Grace, Brajat. You know, you guys are the OGs. You guys are the ones that have been, you know, you stick with me. You're always here. You're always supporting me. So how can I not? You know what I mean? And Richard's leaving us. So you have a good night. And I'm gonna end too, but I just wanted to put that out before we do end. But you have a good night, Richard. Thank you for being in here, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow if you can make it. And I look forward to speaking with you guys again tomorrow. It's been a very good show. Very happy. Very good discussions. Very serious. I feel like we're getting better and better as we continue to go on. And you know, that's encouraging to me, and it makes me happy. And I think it was a great show, and all of you, as always, you know, putting in very good opinions, very good chats, very good discussions that keeps the show going, keeps the show alive, and keeps the show entertaining and just, you know, engaging. So, you know, again, without you guys, you know, we would be nothing. But, you know, together we are a community, and I think we are a very good community. Well, Axe, maybe this time it'll be different. Maybe this time it'll be different, Axe. Maybe our channel, maybe our channel, and maybe me. Maybe it'll be different. But, you know, the least maybe you could do is give it a shot. And if you feel like it's not, then, you know, you have the freedom to do whatever you want. Of course, as always. Mukal and Janu, I'm sorry for pronouncing your name wrong, said the board should not hesitate to sack him immediately. Effect to keep the life and hope the entire fan hope alive. And yeah, I mean, many people, many Manchester United fans are. That's how they feel. That's what they're saying. That's kind of what they think. You know, not everybody, but there's a large amount. They do believe that, you know, the board should not be hesitating to sack him. They think his time is up. They think he needs to go. They think there's no room for hesitation, and that there's nothing really to consider. They think that the proof is in the pudding, and that a decision has to be made and should be made effective immediately. So let's see what happens tomorrow. Let's see what tomorrow brings. Again, a huge thank you to everybody that's new that has joined us. A huge thank you to our regulars, because again, you guys have been the life of this channel and community for quite some time, and you guys are always here supporting the channel, me and, you know, us together. So thank you guys again. Everybody that smashed the like button, thank you. If you subscribed, thank you as well. And if you don't have the notifications on, turn them on so you know when we go live, so you don't miss anything and you can get involved. And yeah, so everybody have a good night, good morning, good evening, wherever you're from. You know, and just take care of yourselves, stay safe, and we'll be back here tomorrow to discuss, you know, the updates that is going to come out tomorrow. And we'll see what the day brings us tomorrow. We never know, you know, every day is a new day, and you never know what's going to come from it. So yeah, just take care of yourselves, guys. Be good. And we will see each other tomorrow. Michael saying United fans are impatient. I think all fans are impatient, to be fair. But cheers. We will continue tomorrow on this discussion. So thank you guys. Be good. Enjoy yourself.